Chapter 1133, Inside Oblivion Palace. Chapter 1133, Inside Oblivion Palace. He must have spread the word about the invitation. It seems that Celestial Master Malignity has made full preparation and is very confident, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Of course he's confident, Celestial Master Yuding said. Celestial Master Malignity has become renowned for a long time ago. He's a long-time Celestial Master of the Exceptional Realm with exceptional speed. Even the Celestial Masters of Green Fire Palace are no match for him in terms of speed, and many Celestial Masters of the Exceptional Realm couldn't even defeat him because of that. In addition, the fight will be carried out inside Oblivion Palace. It's a vacant space without obstacles of any kind, allowing him to go full speed. Speed? Celestial Master Yuding, are you saying that his speed is his forte? Jian Wushuang's expression turned strange. He had just obtained the Blaze Quicksand Gourd, which could be used to control the Blaze Quicksand. It was the best weapon to restrict his opponent's speed. Now, there was an expert with incredible speed coming to him for a fierce battle. It seemed like the perfect time for him to practice the Blaze Quicksand. Will you accept the invitation? Yuding asked. Of course. Jian Wushuang nodded without hesitation. It's better to start early. Let's go, Yuding said. Okay. Jian Wushuang followed after Yuding. Together, they headed for Oblivion Palace. Oblivion Palace was located on the same land as Green Fire Palace. It looked like an ordinary palace, but its interior was an endless space that was enough to allow two universe masters to battle to their heart's content, let alone two celestial masters. There was already a crowd outside Oblivion Palace when Jian Wushuang and Yuding got there. Numerous Green Fire Palace experts stood there, talking in groups of 2s or 3s. When Jian Wushuang showed up, they all turned to look in his direction. Here comes Jian Wushuang. Ha, he really showed up. See, I told you he won't refuse the invitation. Jian Wushuang is incredibly skillful. He might not necessarily lose to Celestial Master Malignity. Of course he won't refuse it. The experts looked on, their excitement building. They had been worried that Jian Wushuang might not accept the invitation, but it seemed like their worries were unnecessary. Jian Wushuang, Celestial Master Malignity has been waiting for you inside Oblivion Palace. You can go in now, Yuding said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded and then entered the palace. It was dark and vast inside. The palace seemed boundless without an end. A purple-haired man in a luxurious robe stood tall in the dark void. He had his arms folded as he waited quietly for Jian Wushuang's arrival. Before long, the scarlet-robed Jian Wushuang appeared before the purple-haired man with a sword in hand. So, you're Jian Wushuang. Celestial Master Malignity's eyes gleamed with purple light, his gaze fixed on Jian Wushuang. Celestial Master Malignity. Jian Wushuang wore a kind smile on his face. There was no grudge between them in the first place. Celestial Master Malignity's anger was understandable as Jian Wushuang took a spot which was supposed to be his. Humph. I heard that you've made a name for yourself on the battlefield and even earned the praise and approval of the 5 palace masters. Sunrise Sword Emperor even suggested adding your name to the world of swords. Celestial Master Malignity clenched his fists tightly. Celestial Master Malignity, I didn't know that before, Jian Wushuang began to explain himself. Stop with the nonsense. Celestial Master Malignity waved his hand. Since you're so strong, show me what you've got. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand again and tossed a token. Jian Wushuang's expression changed as he looked quizzically at the token that Celestial Master Malignity tossed aside. He could recognize that token. It was used to record the mirror image. People outside Oblivion Palace could not see what was going on inside. If Celestial Master Malignity were to record the battle, it was evident that he wanted to make it public. It seems that Celestial Master Malignity hates me so much that he intends to embarrass me in front of the public. Jian Wushuang wore a faint smile. He was not worried at all. Meanwhile, outside the palace, 2 people stood side by side. They were evidently Sunrise Sword Emperor and Palace Master Red Lotus who had just hurried over from the battlefield. While others could not see what happened inside Oblivion Palace, they could see through everything. Celestial Master Malignity has such a bad temper. Red Lotus, won't you advise him as his senior sister? Sunrise Sword Emperor frowned. He's supposed to be listed in the world of swords, but Jian Wushuang stole his place. You can't blame him for getting angry over it, anyone else would have done the same. Besides, my junior brother simply wants to vent his rage. He isn't going to kill him, Red Lotus replied coldly. It was my idea to give the spot to Jian Wushuang. He didn't know about it. If Celestial Master Malignity isn't happy with it, he can come to me anytime. You're not just a palace master. You're also someone with the potential to be the future leader of Green Fire Palace. Do you seriously think that my junior brother will dare to come to you? Red Lotus chuckled. It's too late to talk about this now. Jian Wushuang is as unruly as his father. Isn't this the perfect chance to rectify his insolence? Ha! Can Celestial Master Malignity teach him a lesson? I don't think so. Sunrise Sword Emperor laughed. What? You think that Celestial Master Malignity can't do anything to the kid? Don't forget that his speed is ranked first among all Celestial Masters. Fighting in Oblivion Palace also gives him an advantage. Even if Jian Wushuang has the strength of a Celestial Master of the Exceptional Realm, he'll still lose, Red Lotus said. Do you want to make a bet? Sunrise Sword Emperor glanced at Red Lotus. What would you like to bet? Red Lotus asked. Not too long ago, I heard you acquired a red source stone weighing over 6 kilograms from the battlefield. I might need it, Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Deal. If you lose, I want you to tutor my junior brother for a year. You must also give him the spot for the World of Swords when it opens in 100,000 years later, Red Lotus said. No problem, Sunrise Sword Emperor answered without hesitation. After the bet had been made, the two of them looked down at Oblivion Palace. Inside the palace, the battle between Jian Wushuang and Celestial Master Malignity had already begun. Chapter 1134, Blaze Quicksand Displays Its Might. Chapter 1134, Blaze Quicksand Displays Its Might. Jian Wushuang, I'll teach you how to respect your seniors. Even as Celestial Master Malignity's voice echoed throughout Oblivion Palace, he was already making a dash forward. He moved so swiftly that it felt as if the long distance was nothing. He appeared before Jian Wushuang in a flash. A dazzling arc of ice-cold sword light sliced through the void, aiming at Jian Wushuang almost instantly. His speed, Jian Wushuang was shocked. Though he had been told that Celestial Master Malignity could be extremely fast, he was still astonished by the terrifying display of speed. He had the battle prowess of Celestial Master of the Exceptional Realm, but he could not tell when Celestial Master Malignity drew his sword. The cold sword light was coming for him. As much as he wanted to block the incoming attack, he could not react any further. He drew his Blood Mountain sword to block it from piercing his chest. Clang! A deep crashing noise resounded as the power contained in the cold sword light sent him tumbling backward. Jian Wushuang, I haven't even gone all out against you yet. Celestial Master Malignity's voice resounded. Jian Wushuang's expression darkened. Suddenly, his pupils constricted in surprise. He saw Celestial Master Malignity rushing out with a greater speed this time. It was so fast that he could not hide his astonishment. Once again, Celestial Master Malignity appeared before him and shot him with numerous beams of sword light. The sharp and cold sword lights flew out one after another. Right then, it was as if Jian Wushuang had been trapped by the sea of sword light beams. They were everywhere with no gaps between the sword strikes. He moves quickly, but his sword is even faster. Jian Wushuang's heart pounded furiously as he waved his sword to fend off the attacks. Likewise, he fully unleashed his speed sword principle and swung his Blood Mountain sword forward at an amazing speed. Clang! 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 A series of crashing sounds filled the air like thunder. Tis! Jian Wushuang's eyes went wide with disbelief. He thought that the speed sword principle that he developed would surpass every other celestial master. But now, celestial master Malignity's swordsmanship was evidently much faster than his when fully unleashed. It was now a competition of speed for them. Celestial master Malignity evidently had the upper hand over Jian Wushuang. It was difficult enough to defend himself, never mind matching up to celestial master Malignity. I'm barely hanging on. Jian Wushuang wore a grave expression. One of the sword lights sent out by celestial master Malignity had gotten through the gap of his defense, stabbing towards his chest. There was no way he could dodge it. Boom! The sharp sword light slammed into his chest and the immense force sent him tumbling backward. It took him a while to regain his balance. Red Lotus smiled faintly when she saw this scene. Sunrise Sword Emperor, you're going to lose. Be patient. The battle has just started. It's too soon to tell, Sunrise Sword Emperor replied coldly. Red Lotus snorted. You're not convinced yet? Well, let's see how Jian Wushuang will play the game. Inside Oblivion Palace, Celestial Master Malignity turned to look at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, is that all you've got? Celestial Master Malignity smirked and said disdainfully, I heard that you killed a number of Celestial Master experts of the Jin Kingdom during a battle in the Loyalty Palace. Perhaps they were all just a bunch of rubbish? If you encounter a stronger opponent, I guess that you'll have no choice but run away. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. Celestial Master Malignity's speed is indeed incredible. It's no surprise that his speed ranked first among everyone in the Green Fire Palace. Although I've managed to develop the swordplay of speed, I still can't match him in speed. He shook his head. He knew that he lagged behind in terms of speed. The fact that there was no obstruction in Oblivion Palace also gave his opponent a better advantage. If Celestial Master Malignity were to maintain such speed, there would be nothing that he could do. Eventually, he would be defeated. Suddenly, a smirk spread across his face. There is no doubt that I'll be crushed if I fought Celestial Master Malignity before, but now. Jian Wushuang, behave yourself and take this. Celestial Master Malignity howled in a low voice. He swiftly dashed into motion again. His figure appeared to be an illusionary flowing light going through the void. His speed was unprecedented that none of the Celestial Masters of Exceptional Realm could match up to. Other ordinary Celestial Masters could not even think about it. Celestial Master Malignity was peerless even if his opponents were Celestial Masters of the Exceptional Realm. Unfortunately, his rival was Jian Wushuang this time. Seeing that Celestial Master Malignity had dashed toward him again, Jian Wushuang flipped his arm, and a golden gourd appeared in his hand. Oh! Celestial Master Malignity's expression flickered. He had noticed Jian Wushuang's action but paid no heed to it. Meanwhile, outside Oblivion Palace, the mere sight of the golden gourd caused Master Red Lotus pupils to constrict. That is. Holding the golden gourd in hand, Jian Wushuang pulled the cork with the strength of his thought. A wave of terrifying power immediately erupted from the gourd. As it rumbled, seemingly endless quicksand surged out from the opening of the gourd. The quicksand carried a blue flame and contained enormous power. It swiftly swept across the surroundings and engulfed the entire Oblivion Palace in no time. The blaze quicksand pervaded the entire area of the vast void of Oblivion Palace. What's this? Celestial Master Malignity quickly halted to a stop. He frowned and looked around at the vast expanse of blaze quicksand. A bad feeling instantly loomed over him. Jian Wushuang grinned. A wild wind was raving under his control. Suddenly, the blaze quicksand turned into a sandstorm, blasting towards Celestial Master Malignity. Crap! Celestial Master Malignity's face took on a ghastly expression. He tried to move away to dodge the sandstorm. Soon, he found out that the sandstorm was unavoidable. It blasted out in all directions, sweeping through any obstacle barring its path. No matter where he went, the sandstorm would emerge in front of him and surge towards him. Celestial Master Malignity wielded his long sword recklessly, sending out brutal sword essence one after another. He continued struggling against the sandstorm. Suddenly, a ruthless sword light was unleashed by Celestial Master Malignity, ripping up the sandstorm before him. As soon as the sandstorm was broken, a figure charged at him. It was Jian Wushuang. Heaven's Bane. Jian Wushuang wore a cold expression. The Blood Mountain sword in his hand unleashed a terrifying burst of power, getting closer and closer to his opponent. Humph! Celestial Master Malignity snorted, and immediately wielded his sword to fend off the attack. Boom! Celestial Master Malignity was sent flying backward following the loud explosion. He then slammed into the sandstorm behind him. Chapter 1135, Gain the Upper Hand? Chapter 1135, Gain the Upper Hand. Boom! The sandstorm burst open and Celestial Master Malignity reappeared. Jian Wushuang grinned. Celestial Master Malignity, your speed is indeed incredible, but you're much weaker than mine strength-wise. It was true that in terms of speed, Celestial Master Malignity was the fastest among all Celestial Masters that he had ever met. However, speaking of offensive power, Celestial Master Malignity was just a little better than an advanced Celestial Master. He was still way below any other Celestial Master of the exceptional realm. When he unleashed Heaven's Bane, Celestial Master Malignity was immediately rendered to a distinct disadvantage since it was a competition of power. Bastard! Celestial Master Malignity looked gloomy. He looked at the blaze quicksand that had engulfed the entire Oblivion Palace. He could feel the terrifying power surging from it. His heart raced as his eyes tracked the blaze quicksand. Celestial Master Malignity, let's see who the loser will be. Jian Wushuang chuckled as he sprang into motion. Celestial Master Malignity moved at the same time. The sandstorm appeared in front of him the moment he moved, blasting him with ferocious power. Damn it! Celestial Master Malignity cursed. He had to stop moving to fend off the sandstorm. However, after being fended off for one time, the sandstorm came blasting again. It came one after another, seemingly without an end. Under the impact of the sandstorm, he could hardly exert his speed. On the contrary, Jian Wushuang could attack as he wished. They were no longer competing in terms of speed, but power instead. If he was not threatened by the blaze quicksand, he could easily dodge Jian Wushuang's attack. But now, he could not do anything. He could only withstand with all his might. When they were fighting head-on, the sword power of Jian Wushuang was way stronger than him. Boom, 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 boom. Rumbling sounds continued to reverberate in Oblivion Palace. Several breaths later, swoosh! Celestial Master Malignity was sent tumbling backward once again. He looked absolutely miserable with his face ashen and blood oozing out of the corners of his mouth. He was evidently badly injured. Jian Wushuang continued to emanate a vigorous aura and his battle prowess was still in peak condition. Celestial Master Malignity, are you convinced now? Jian Wushuang stood before Celestial Master Malignity with a smug smile on his face. Damn! Celestial Master Malignity fixed his gaze at Jian Wushuang. His resentment was rapidly building. He was not convinced at all. He was angry with the fact that the spot to enter the world of swords was given to Jian Wushuang. To make things worse, he could not hurt Jian Wushuang even for a bit. Instead, Jian Wushuang even defeated him. Ever since Jian Wushuang utilized the Blaze Quicksand Gourd, it posed a big obstacle in Celestial Master Malignity's attempt to make use of his speed. Under such circumstance, the strength of Celestial Master Malignity could only be considered slightly better than that of an advanced Celestial Master. Without his speed, he could do nothing but get defeated. When Sunrise Sword Emperor said he'd give me the spot to enter the world of swords to me, I didn't know that you were one of the candidates. I didn't mean to take your place. If you don't believe me, you can ask Sunrise Sword Emperor about it, Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. I know that you're angry, but things happen. Either way, I won't hand you the spot as you wish. If you're still unconvinced, you can pick another fight with me. But let me remind you that you're definitely not powerful enough to defeat me now. He then returned the Blaze Quicksand to the Golden Gourd and left without sparing Celestial Master Malignity another glance. Celestial Master Malignity stood there quivering as he watched Jian Wushuang leave. His heart was filled with frustrations. The 5 palace masters commanded the utmost authority in Green Fire Palace. There was nothing he could do if they had decided to let Jian Wushuang enter the world of swords. He just wanted to mess with Jian Wushuang to vent his rage and frustration. But in the end, he did not even get teach Jian Wushuang a lesson and suffered defeat instead. Meanwhile, numerous celestial masters had gathered outside Oblivion Palace to wait for the result. It has been quite some time. Don't you think the battle between Jian Wushuang and Celestial Master Malignity should have ended by now? Who do you think will be the winner? Do you still have to ask? Of course it'd be Celestial Master Malignity. I agree. His speed gives him an absolute advantage from the beginning. The Celestial Masters chatted among themselves, most of them believing that the winner of the battle would be Celestial Master Malignity. After all, Celestial Master Malignity had made a name for himself a long time ago. His incredible display of speed was also well known. After a while, Jian Wushuang stepped out of Oblivion Palace. The Green Fire Palace experts immediately turned to look in his direction. Jian Wushuang is out. Why is he the one to come out first? What about Celestial Master Malignity? Jian Wushuang looks calm and his aura is steady. It seems like he isn't injured. They all wore strange expressions. Celestial Master Yuding came to Jian Wushuang and asked with a smile, "What's the outcome?" "The result." Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. "You can ask Celestial Master Malignity when he comes out. I'll be leaving first." He ignored the other Celestial Masters and headed for his residence. Those Celestial Masters continued to wait around. Soon, Celestial Master Malignity walked out. They noticed that Celestial Master Malignity had a bitter expression on his face. "Celestial Master Malignity, what's the outcome?" "Celestial Master Malignity, didn't you tell us that you would record the battle with the mirror token? Where is it?" A Celestial Master came to ask him. "The mirror token?" Celestial Master Malignity's face darkened. "I didn't use the mirror token." "What?" the Celestial Masters asked in disbelief. When they received the message, Celestial Master Malignity had clearly said that he would use the mirror token to record the battle. Jian Wushuang is indeed powerful. He gained the upper hand in this battle. That was all Celestial Master Malignity had to say. He ignored the rest of the questions and left immediately. A commotion broke out outside Oblivion Palace. The upper hand? Did Celestial Master Malignity say that Jian Wushuang gained the upper hand? Did he really admit it? How could it be possible? Not losing the battle would be the best result that Jian Wushuang could hope for. How could it be possible that he even gained the upper hand? He didn't even show us the mirror token. Is it true that Jian Wushuang only gained the upper hand? Is there more to the story? These Celestial Masters could not stop thinking about it. Nearly all of them thought that Jian Wushuang would lose the battle, but the result had turned out so differently. Chapter 1136, Golden Axe. Chapter 1136, Golden Axe. Red Lotus and Sunrise Sword Emperor hovered above Oblivion Palace. "Give me the red source stone," Sunrise Sword Emperor said, beaming. The corner of Red Lotus' mouth twitched as she took out the stone with a wave of her hand and handed it to him. "Did you already know that Jian Wushuang has exchanged for the Blaze Quicksand Gourd?" she asked, staring fixedly at him. "Yes, and so do the other 3 palace masters." Sunrise Sword Emperor smiled. "We all think that he has so much potential that he might end up becoming the future leader of Green Fire Palace. We have been keeping an eye on him and naturally know what treasures he exchanged for in the Fire Points Exchange office. You, however, look down on him and wouldn't be inclined to pay him any mind. Of course you wouldn't know about that." Red Lotus snorted but did not rebut him. Instead, she said, "Blaze Quicksand Gourd is an extraordinary treasure. The only reason we sold it is that we have our unique treasures and have no use for it. I didn't think he would exchange for it. If I'm not mistaken, the gourd is worth over 200,000 fire points. He hasn't even been in Green Fire Palace for long. Where did he get all those points? Jian Wushuang obtained many divine soul pills back when Dan Xan Palace came to the world. It's more than enough to cover the cost of the gourd, Sunrise Sword Emperor answered. Is that so? Red Lotus nodded and then snorted again. The kid sure is lucky. Then, her figure turned illusory and vanished. Sunrise Sword Emperor followed suit shortly after. Back in Green Fire Palace, Celestial Master Malignity had yet to return to his residence. Celestial Master Malignity. A figure came chasing after him. Yes. Malignity turned around. When he saw who it was, his expression relaxed. It's you, Celestial Master Golden Axe. How may I help you? He asked. Golden Axe was a short and stout old man with a mellow face and amiable smile. He left a good expression on all those who met him for the first time. Their relationship was decent. Thus, Malignity showed him a little more courtesy. Nothing much. I'm just curious about what happened in Oblivion Palace. Golden Axe chuckled. Well, Malignity frowned. He would not have been polite if some other celestial master asked him this, but this was Golden Axe after all. He was a comrade that went through life and death with him on the huge battlefield. It's a bit embarrassing. I wanted to teach Jian Wushuang a lesson, but he's stronger than expected. Moreover, he's also equipped with a powerful treasure, Malignity explained. Treasure? What is it? Golden Axe asked. All I know is that it's a golden gourd that pours out a massive amount of quicksand. It's terrifying. The quicksand formed one sandstorm after another to attack me, preventing me from moving at full speed. That was how he gained the upper hand. Though he said that Jian Wushuang gained the upper hand, the truth was that Jian Wushuang had defeated him. I see. Golden Axe frowned. Celestial Master Malignity, the Mirror Token. I've already told you that I didn't use the Mirror Token, Malignity said in a low and deep voice. It was a lie, of course. He had used the Mirror Token since the very beginning and clearly recorded the course of the battle. He would not have minded circulating the mirror image if it was an easy victory over Jian Wushuang. However, he would not be so stupid as to show scenes of his embarrassing defeat to others. I see. Then I shall ask no further, Golden Axe said, face full of smiles. Malignity nodded and took his leave. Meanwhile, Golden Axe headed for Jian Wushuang's mansion. My young friend Jian Wushuang, I'm Golden Axe. I'm here to visit you. Jian Wushuang had just returned to his mansion. His expression changed after hearing the old man's booming voice. Golden Axe? Celestial Master Golden Axe? He knew some of the celestial masters of Green Fire Palace. Naturally, he had heard of Golden Axe. Golden Axe kept an incredibly low profile. He was never one to flaunt or easily get into fights with other celestial masters of Green Fire Palace. Moreover, he was truly a good-natured, kind person. Both his temper and public reputation was equally as good. Typically, he would not refuse requests from those in Green Fire Palace, be it lending fire points or researching formations. Even if other celestial masters were in danger on the battlefield and asked for his help, he would also spare no effort in trying to rescue them even at the expense of his life. If other celestial masters harmed his interests or wronged him, he would usually smile and let it go as long as it was not too serious an offense. He was candid, loyal, and incredibly generous. Even though he was only an advanced celestial master, the others respected him greatly. They were all delighted to befriend him. Hence, he enjoyed the greatest popularity in Green Fire Palace. Jian Wushuang immediately came out to welcome Golden Axe when he learned that the latter was his guest. I'm Jian Wushuang. Nice to meet you, Celestial Master Golden Axe, Jian Wushuang said humbly. My young friend, you're too polite. You're stronger than me. I don't deserve such etiquette. Golden Axe laughed amiably. If you don't mind, you can call me Golden Axe or Brother Golden Axe. Sure. Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile. Brother Golden Axe, please come in. He led Golden Axe into the mansion and the two of them sat down by a table. With a wave of his hand, he took out some fine wine and dishes. My young friend, I come to seek a friendship with you. I'm also curious about your battle with Celestial Master Malignity, Golden Axe said. There was nothing important about the battle. I simply got lucky and gained the upper hand. Jian Wushuang deflected the topic with a short and simple sentence. Oh. Golden Axe asked no further. He began chatting with Jian Wushuang about the other matters in Green Fire Palace instead. After drinking and chatting for half a day, Golden Axe Celestial Master finally stood up and was about to leave. Chapter 1137, Quicksand Realm. Chapter 1137, Quicksand Realm. This is my message token, my young friend. Let me know if there is anything I can do for you. Celestial Master Golden Axe handed Jian Wushuang a message token and then took his leave. Take care. Jian Wushuang saw him off. Now alone, Jian Wushuang turned the message token over in his hand with a strange smile on his face. Celestial Master Golden Axe sure is a good person. He treats me so warmly though we've just met. He smiled, having had a favorable impression of Golden Axe. Gu King snorted. He would have died many times over if you put him in the eternal chaotic world. He sure is lucky to have survived for several million years in Green Fire Palace. Well, Jian Wushuang was stupefied. He knew how cruel this world could be. People like Golden Axe typically would not survive long here, yet Golden Axe became an exception to the rule. Putting him aside, I've just fought Celestial Master Malignity and learned the true power of the Blaze Quicksand Gourd. I need to find a way to cultivate the secret skill concealed in the gourd. Only then will I be able to master the real Blaze Quicksand Realm, Jian Wushuang murmured. He then returned to his secret chamber and began isolating himself. Meanwhile, Golden Axe did not travel far away from Jian Wushuang's mansion before stopping midair. He glanced at the mansion, a cold and insidious expression taking over his typically amicable face. Jian Wushuang, I didn't expect he'd acquire such an extraordinary treasure after just returning from the battlefield. To think it could even restrict Celestial Master Malignity's speed. His defense will be enhanced even further with such a treasure. Looks like it'll be even harder to kill him now. However, hard as it is, there will still be an opportunity. I must be patient, take it slowly, and befriend him first. Since the world of swords would not open for another 40 years, Jian Wushuang isolated himself in the secret chamber to cultivate the secret skill inside the Blaze Quicksand Gourd. The abstruse secret skill required the use of the Blaze Quicksand Gourd. After studying the skill for a long time, he finally found the method to do so. He finally mastered the secret skill after 31 years. I finally made it. He opened his eyes, which were filled with joy. With the cultivation of the secret skill complete, he took out the golden gourd and pulled out the plug without hesitating. Under his control, the Blaze Quicksand surged out of the gourd. Quicksand Realm. Jian Wushuang's gaze sharpened as he used the skill. Then, the madly surging Blaze Quicksand combined in a distinct rhythm and filled the entire secret chamber. Whoosh! An immaterial realm was formed. The realm was formed entirely out of dense Blaze Quicksand and would focus its pressure in the direction that Jian Wushuang thought of. Boom! The space inside the secret chamber erupted under the immense pressure. The pressure was strong enough to cause Celestial Masters to tremble. Terrific! Jian Wushuang's eyes glinted. Since he was the master of this realm, he knew just how strong it was. He was sure that if he maximized the power of the realm, it would be enough to crush ordinary Celestial Masters. He could even grind an advanced Celestial Master into ash with the pressure of the realm. Only experts stronger than Celestial Master of the exceptional realm could survive the pressure. Even so, their overall strength would be largely restricted. Take Celestial Master Malignity for example. Malignity was the fastest Celestial Master in the entire Green Fire world. However, Jian Wushuang estimated that Malignity could only exert 10% of his regular speed at most while trapped in the Quicksand Realm. Moreover, Malignity could also only exert 30% of his full strength at most. Considering how much Malignity's strength would be suppressed in a true battle between them, Jian Wushuang was confident of emerging the victor if he used all his might. How fearsome! When I was weak, I cultivated several skills that involved the use of realms, but those skills could at most reduce my opponent's strength by 10 to 20%. I was never able to crush my opponent to death using the realm's pressure alone. The pressure of the quicksand realm has exceeded all expectations. Since it could reduce the strength of ordinary celestial masters of exceptional realm by 70%, I bet it'll also affect universe masters. With this realm, anyone weaker than the exceptional realm won't be able to threaten me anymore. Even if a dozen or over 100 advanced celestial masters team up to attack me, nearly no one would be able to escape once I activate the realm. Jian Wushuang sighed emotionally. He had never felt more excited before. The might of the Blaze quicksand gourd was far beyond his imagination. It's still too early to be happy. Mighty as the quicksand realm is, it's only useful against certain celestial masters. It's still not powerful enough to deal with universe masters. Of course, once you become a Dao master and make great breakthroughs in your strength, even universe masters won't be able to belittle your technique, Gu King said. Jian Wushuang frowned. Treasures required the user's strength to exert their power. For example, Jian Wushuang had only succeeded in using a Chaos Divine treasure, the Mountain River map, once, and it only happened after he engulfed King Luozhen's essence blood. Typically, he would not be able to use the Mountain River map. In contrast, Quicksand Realm required less strength from him. Even so, Jian Wushuang was barely able to summon a small portion of the realm's power. He would have to enhance his strength to maximize the use of the realm. The Quicksand Realm gives me another trump card. The World of Swords is going to open in 9 years. This is a big opportunity that can't be missed. In the following 9 years, I should prepare adequately so I can secure the greatest harvest there. Then he started his preparation for the World of Swords. Chapter 1138, A Tall Tree. Chapter 1138, A Tall Tree. 9 years swiftly passed. Jian Wushuang was still in his secret chamber when an indifferent man with a long sword on his back appeared above Jian Wushuang's mansion. Jian Wushuang. His cold voice traveled through many layers of restrictions to reach Jian Wushuang's ears. Jian Wushuang was immediately awakened. His body turned illusory and in the following second, he appeared in front of the man. Sunrise Sword Emperor. Jian Wushuang bowed to the man. It's been 100,000 years. The World of Swords is opening again. Come with me, Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded, despite the surprise he felt inside. He thought Sunrise Sword Emperor would send someone to take him to the World of Swords. He followed Sunrise Sword Emperor to the wormhole of Green Fire Palace. They traveled through the wormhole and arrived somewhere on the massive battlefield. Is the location of the secret land of the World of Swords? Jian Wushuang frowned as he scanned his surroundings. He saw a giant and boundless plain covered in a dense layer of grass. The most eye-catching thing on the plain was a tall tree. Though it was big and tall, it did not look very different from ordinary trees. Jian Wushuang followed Sunrise Sword Emperor as they walked up to the tree. The World of Swords lies inside the tree, Sunrise Sword Emperor said in an emotionless voice. What? Inside the tree? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. The secret land of the World of Swords was inside such an ordinary tree. Be patient. We'll wait here for a moment and soon you'll get your answer. Sunrise Sword Emperor closed his eyes. Thus, Jian Wushuang stayed and waited. Just like that, 3 days quickly passed. Suddenly, an ancient aura came out of the tree and its central trunk began to wriggle. It's time. Sunrise Sword Emperor opened his eyes and stared at the tree. Jian Wushuang followed suit in staring fixedly at the tree. The trunk continued to wriggle until a dark and spiraling tunnel appeared. This tunnel that led to a mysterious world was big enough for one person. This is the tunnel to the World of Swords. Remember, you can stay there for no more than 10 years. Whether or not you achieve anything, you'll be sent back when the deadline comes. Of course, you'll achieve a lot considering how talented you are, Sunrise Sword Emperor explained. 10 years. Jian Wushuang gave a small nod. That's enough talk. Get in, Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Jian Wushuang entered the mysterious spiraling tunnel without hesitation. He reappeared as a light flared and found himself still on a plain. Jian Wushuang frowned as he examined his surroundings. He was still on a large and boundless plain, which seemed identical to the one he was on before. He also spotted a tall tree here. The difference was that this tree was much larger than the one he saw across the tunnel. He stared at the tree in astonishment. This is enormous. This tree was tens of thousands of times and even hundreds of thousands of times larger than the tree before. It was enough to shock him. He had never seen such a large tree in his entire life. He even thought that this tree might be bigger than the entire eternal world. When Jian Wushuang took a closer look at the tree, it appeared different. This isn't a tree. This is a huge sword. Jian Wushuang's voice was trembling. It was indeed a massive sword. It was a sword that could shock the whole world. And no, that's not right. Jian Wushuang squinted. This time, he focused on the trunk of the tree. Millions of branches extended from the lush tree, forming such a full cover that they looked like a palm leaf fan. There were still countless leaves on the tiny branches. Jian Wushuang correctly guessed that the tree was not simply a huge sword. Its branches and leaves could all turn into swords. These swords all contained a perfect sword principle each. This large tree was a huge sword that contained a complete sword principle. This sword principle was also the strongest one. The trunk was a sword with a complete sword principle of the creation level. Each branch was a sword with a complete sword principle of the universe level. Even the individual leaf was a sword with a complete sword principle of the general level. There was an abundance of sword principles here. These distinct and different sword principles were in perfect harmony. Most importantly, they were all derived from the tree. Is this a single sword that yields millions of swords? Jian Wushuang was utterly stupefied. He was this shocked because he had figured out the principle of the tree. The tree that was not an actual tree was, in fact, a complete and amazing sword principle. Most of all, in the same manner that a tree would grow branches and leaves, this sword principle also grew thousands of principles of the creation, universe, and general levels. What an incredible sword principle! What an incredible method! I put so much effort into studying Coalescence sword principle all so I can gather different sword principles and coalesce them. But this tree grows hundreds of thousands of sword principles. It's completely opposite to my method. Jian Wushuang stared fixedly at the tree. In just a split second, he had gained many realizations. Unification sword and derivative swords had completely opposing natures. Nevertheless, they shared many similarities. Previously, Jian Wushuang had focused on learning to unify sword principles. He had failed to perfect it as he had done the coalescence clumsily. Now, as he stared at the tree, he came to realize the flaw in his process. Derivative swords means growing like a tree. The coalescence sword principle is just like millions of rivers converging to form the vast sea. Jian Wushuang's eyes gleamed. Chapter 1139, Coalescence. Chapter 1139, Coalescence. Jian Wushuang sat down cross-legged in the world of swords, concentrating on the tree in front of him. He continued to receive enlightenment. Simultaneously, he could faintly find his own path. It was a path that could lead him to turn the coalescence sword principle of the creation level into the strongest sword principle. Coalescence sword principle, namely unification sword, will unite everything in the same way the sea converges all rivers. All rivers flow into the sea. He gradually closed his eyes and began to carefully study the sword principle. He carefully observed the way the tree derived and the image turned into a huge picture in his mind. There was a core in the middle of the picture, branching out into numerous light rays. What he was currently doing was integrating the countless lights into the core. His understanding of the coalescence sword principle deepened as time passed. It would have taken him years to figure out the way and direction to break through. However, being able to watch the tree grow in the world of swords made his task much simpler. Comprehension became much easier now that he had a direction in mind. 10 years passed just like that as he meditated. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes as he sat before the tree, his sword essence now completely changed. It used to be fierce and aggressive, but it was now like a huge black hole that swallowed everything around him. His sword essence was as deep as a bottomless pit. It was mysterious, magnificent, and ready to embrace the whole world. Coalescence sword principle is the first sword principle that I developed, and it's finally at its strongest level after continuous evolution. Jian Wushuang looked pleasantly surprised. In his 10 years in the world of swords, he had succeeded in advancing the coalescence sword principle through the continuous evolution in his mind. The coalescence sword principle of the strongest level could contain all sword principles of inferior levels. It could also contain his 2 other sword principles, speed sword principle and yin-yang sword principle, as they were only of the creation level. Just then, he felt an incorporeal fluctuation sweeping him. He was surprised. My time here is up just as I finished evolving the coalescence sword principle. Perfect timing. Jian Wushuang grinned. With a flash of light, he reappeared outside of the world of swords. He found himself standing in front of a tree that was neither as tall as the one in the world of swords or carried the same special sword essence. Sunrise Sword Emperor was waiting for him. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang walked out of the tree under a flickering light. Sunrise Sword Emperor was surprised when he saw Jian Wushuang. He was, after all, the #1 sword cultivator in the Green Fire world and second to none in terms of sword principles. Sensitive to sword principles as he was, he could clearly sense the amazing change in Jian Wushuang. Congratulations, Jian Wushuang, Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Jian Wushuang laughed brightly. I could detect a majestic sword essence from you. It seems capable of containing everything. If I'm not mistaken, you must have developed a strongest sword principle, Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Yes. I've named it Coalescence Sword Principle, Jian Wushuang answered frankly. Coalescence Sword Principle? Unification Sword? Interesting. Sunrise Sword Emperor nodded. Since you've developed a strongest sword principle, I think you'll soon become a Tao Master and then a Celestial Master. When that day comes, I'd like to have a battle with you. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile. Inside Jian Wushuang, Gu King laughed. He's gifted in sword principle but lacks a broad outlook being confined in the Green Fire world. He doesn't realize your real potential. He wants to fight with you when you become a Celestial Master? That's unnecessary. You can even beat him after becoming a Tao Master. Well, Jian Wushuang was speechless. Well, let's go back, Sunrise Sword Emperor said. He then took Jian Wushuang back to Green Fire Palace quickly. Sunrise Sword Emperor excused himself after they arrived at the palace. Jian Wushuang also began his preparation to become a Tao Master. If he wanted to be a Tao Master from the Eternal Realm, the most crucial thing to do was developing his own path. Jian Wushuang had already developed his own path and fulfilled other factors for his breakthrough. He had been suppressing his level because he was waiting to develop a strongest sword principle. Now that he had succeeded, it was naturally time to become a Tao Master. Nevertheless, he was an inverse cultivator. Compared to ordinary warriors, it was harder for him to break through and thus needed a complete preparation. You probably won't face any problems in breaking through, but as an inverse cultivator, you may cause a commotion. You might attract unnecessary attention if you make your breakthrough here, Gu King said. I see. Jian Wushuang gave a small nod. Since Tao Masters were among top experts in the Green Fire world, it was normal for there to be a commotion when a warrior tried to advance into a Tao Master. He would cause an even greater stir as an inverse cultivator. He had proven his potential with his absolute strength and convinced many celestial masters of Green Fire Palace to acknowledge him. Since there was no need to show off again, he should find an isolated place and complete his breakthrough alone. Why don't you do it on the battlefield? The battlefield is massive. Though there would be many experts of Green Fire Palace and the Gene Kingdom wandering around, it will be hard to come across any of them. I can find a secret place to break through there, and I doubt I'll be disturbed. Besides, I've planned to enter the battlefield after the breakthrough all along. With that, Jian Wushuang made up his mind. He then left for the battlefield once again. Few people knew about his departure, save for several palace masters and celestial masters whom he informed. However, Celestial Master Golden Axe somehow got wind of it. Chapter 1140, Breakthrough. Chapter 1140, Breakthrough. Jian Wushuang left for the battlefield again. Celestial Master Golden Axe muttered to himself after hearing about Jian Wushuang's departure. He's close to being as strong as a celestial master of the exceptional realm and must have improved even more after returning from the world of swords. I don't think celestial masters of the exceptional realm can defeat him. It'd take a universe master to kill him. I must be patient. He has just left. If I ask about it immediately, he might suspect me. I'll wait and find a way to pinpoint his position after he's been on the battlefield for a while. With a plan in mind, Golden Axe also left for the battlefield soon after. Over on the battlefield, Jian Wushuang continued on the same path that he had gone through before. It took him 20 years to arrive at the Chilly Wind Valley. Chilly Wind Valley. Jian Wushuang stared at the massive pit in front of him. It was so mysterious at the bottom that he could not help wanting to investigate it. He recalled his narrow escape last time. He knew just how dangerous this valley was. When the blood-cold wind blew, even a universe master would be crushed into pieces, never mind him. This was the farthest place I reached when I came alone last time. Later on, I received the order to go to Dan Xian Palace. Since I'm going to venture on the battlefield once again, I'll just start from here. Jian Wushuang smiled. Since it's pretty desolate here, I don't think I'll come across other experts. I'll find a spot here to make my breakthrough. With a shift of his body, he appeared inside a palace atop a mountain in the Chilly Wind Valley and sat down cross-legged. He waved his hand and many elixirs appeared in front of him, each of which would help him during the process. Besides, he also activated a formation. It was the Spirit Gathering formation that covered a small parameter. It could converge more heaven and earth spiritual energy and help with his breakthrough. Now fully prepared, he took a deep breath and then closed his eyes. As he moved, a horrible force quickly spread in all directions. It caused the heaven and earth spiritual energy that the Spirit Gathering formation gathered to pour into his body. Before long, the energy collected in him reached a saturation point. It's beginning. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, revealing a pair of gleaming pupils. His Blood Mountain sword appeared in his hand. Break! He brandished Blood Mountain sword following a shout. Under the guidance of the Coalescence Sword Principle, a horrible sword shadow burst forth and cleave a towering mountain thousands of miles away in half. The bottleneck in his body trembled under the pressure of the Sword Principle but did not immediately break down. Again! Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. Instead of getting frustrated, he brandished his sword again. He brandished his sword again and again. Meanwhile, the vast spiritual power accumulated in his body continued to frantically attack the bottleneck. His face began to pale after dozens of attempts. His mouth was bleeding to... Even so, the bottleneck remained the same. I didn't expect it to be so hard, he muttered in disbelief. If you're a normal warrior, you would have already succeeded. This level of difficulty is expected for you as an inverse cultivator, Gu King said. Be patient. You can continue accumulating spiritual power like. I think it will work after another dozen times. Jian Wushuang nodded and then quickly swallowed the elixirs in front of him. The elixirs poured abundant spiritual power into his body. Go on. Keep breaking. Jian Wushuang shouted as he once again brandished his sword. This time, he used Heaven's Bane. Heaven's Bane, powerful with irresistible force, was developed based on the Yin-Yang Sword Principle. This time, he used it alongside the Coalescence Sword Principle and it turned out to be even more powerful. The coalescence sword principle contained thousands of sword principles. Since the yin-yang sword principle was not the strongest, it was included as well. The coalescence sword principle, as a result, could perfectly demonstrate Heaven's Bane and make it even stronger. Death Shadow could be used in the same way. Death Shadow could also be used perfectly with the help of the coalescence sword principle. Boom! His mouth bled again, but this time, his eyes were gleaming. He could sense a crack in the bottleneck. The bottleneck was about to break down. Even a small leak would sink a great ship. With a crack in the bottleneck, the rest would be easy to handle. Again! Jian Wushuang clenched his teeth and brandished his sword again. This time he used Death Shadow. Boom! The crack in the bottleneck became bigger. Go on! Jian Wushuang brandished his sword again and again, crazily lashing at the bottleneck. The crack in the bottleneck became bigger and bigger until the entire bottleneck snapped. Jian Wushuang trembled sharply and bellowed as the bottleneck inside him collapsed completely. I made it! I'm a Tao Master! His eyes glinted with golden light. The moment his bottleneck collapsed, vast spiritual power coursed through his 8 extraordinary meridians. His aura also skyrocketed at an amazing speed. Boom! Changes occurred in the universe as his breakthrough affected everything around him. Dark clouds gathered above him. A majestic aura ripped through the world, exerting such great pressure that he could not stop it from spreading in all directions. Suddenly, the majestic aura bathed the radius of 1,000,000 miles around him. Jian Wushuang could clearly feel everything around him, from the void to the earth itself, shiver under the force of his power. It was as if he was the master of this universe. Chapter 1141, Fourth Step in Defying Natural Order. Eternal Supremo. Chapter 1141, Fourth Step in Defying Natural Order. Eternal Supremo. I knew I'd cause a commotion when I break through, but I didn't expect it to be so great. Shocked, Jian Wushuang watched the aftermath of his breakthrough unfold from the palace atop the mountain. It was common for a person making a breakthrough to cause a commotion, but Jian Wushuang's was on another scale. His majestic aura could cause even celestial masters to shudder, not to mention mere Tao masters. Such an impact when I'm just a Tao master. Wonder what will happen when I become a celestial master or something more powerful. Jian Wushuang began to look forward to seeing such a scene in the future. He could also sense great changes taking place in his body as his aura completely transformed. The change was a kind of metamorphosis. His body, his bones, muscles, cells, and even breaths, had undergone an innate metamorphosis. It feels so good. Jian Wushuang exclaimed in admiration. It was such a comfortable and relaxing process that he could not help submerging himself in. The metamorphosis lasted for nearly half a day until everything finally calmed down. His magnificent and valiant aura also gradually calmed down and the whole world was quiet again. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and slowly stood up. Just then, a cracking sound came from his body. He had obviously sat here for less than a day, but he felt as if he had stayed here for thousands of years or even longer. So, this is how it feels to be a Tao master. Jian Wushuang subconsciously looked down at his palm. He spread his fingers and made a fist. Crack! He crushed the space near his hand into smithereens and caused an explosion in the air. He could clearly feel how explosive his power was. I already have the sturdy body of a 3-star ancient god of imperial kinsman, but my body feels several times stronger now. In terms of spiritual power, I think I'm more than 10 times stronger. His eyes glinted with golden light. Undoubtedly, there was a large gap between an Eternal Realm expert and a Tao master. He was dozens of times stronger in terms of spiritual power alone. Being an inverse cultivator, it was natural for him to burst with spiritual power after becoming a Tao master. More importantly, he now commanded better control over his Taos, and their power would naturally be stronger as well. This was particularly true for Jian Wushuang, who became a Tao master with the help of the strongest sword principle. If he unleashed the might of his Tao, he would be very formidable. Powerful. I feel so powerful. His eyes gleamed with delight. He had never felt this powerful in his entire life. He felt fearless enough to confront even a universe master. Hurry and check how you've changed after becoming a Tao master, Gu King urged. Right. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Being both a practitioner of the heavenly creation skill and an inverse cultivator, his every step was in defiance of the natural order. Naturally, the outcome would be extraordinary as well. He would, of course, be different from ordinary warriors. When he was still in the external realm, he was equipped with the ability of an everlasting realm expert. He was strong enough to defy heavens. Now that he was a Tao master, the fourth step in defying the natural order of the heavenly creation skill, dubbed Eternal Supremo, there ought to be changes in him. Jian Wushuang began to carefully examine himself. Oh, what's this? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He detected a strange black flame in his sea of consciousness out of nowhere. It was faint as if it might be snuffed at any minute. However, he could feel a special power coming from this flame. It was greatly similar to his consciousness. Is that soul fire? Gu King cried in a weird voice. Soul fire? Jian Wushuang asked in confusion. Impossible. That's impossible. Gu King's voice was frantic. You're a mere Tao master. How can you have soul fire? Impossible. That's absolutely impossible. When King Luozhen almost reached the topmost level of the eternal chaotic world, he finally managed to light his soul fire after making great efforts and paying a great cost. You're just a Tao master. You're far from being as powerful as King Luozhen. But why can you light your soul fire? Jian Wushuang became speechless from amazement. He knew little about fire of soul, but judging from Gu King's reaction, it must be something extraordinary. Inverse cultivation is truly a monstrosity. Considering how monstrous it is, no wonder heavenly laws disallow it. Gu King continued to be in shock for a long time before he finally calmed down. However, his emotions remained complicated. Gu King, what's going on? What's soul fire? Jian Wushuang asked, finding it to be strange. Gu King was momentarily silent before he answered in a cold voice. Kid, you got lucky. What do you mean? Jian Wushuang asked curiously. Well, soul fire is evolved from your consciousness. I'm sure you're able to sense how the strange power in your soul fire is in complete harmony with your consciousness. Yes. Jian Wushuang gave a small nod. That's the soul power evolved from your consciousness, Gu King explained. You should be clear how strange and wondrous a person's consciousness can be. You can even call it illusory, for it can't take tangible form despite existing in one's mind. For example, your consciousness attack is immaterial. Basically, your consciousness isn't tangible. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded. One's consciousness, without a shape or size, could not be substantial. However, when a person becomes strong enough to a certain level, his consciousness will gradually take shape and finally evolve into a complete soul. Meanwhile, the power of consciousness will metamorphose into soul power. Soul power is far stronger than consciousness. It can be materialized into anything. Some top experts in the eternal chaotic world can turn their soul power into magic weapons for battles, form doppelgangers, or more. But that's an incredibly difficult skill. Is it that powerful? Jian Wushuang was astonished. Chapter 1142, Strength of Soul. Chapter 1142, Strength of Soul. Of course, strength of soul is indeed a formidable force, said Gu King. It's versatile. It'll even become the focus of your cultivation once your levels are as high as those of King Luozhen or the founder of the Star Bloodline. Every expert is willing to try all means to improve his or her strength of soul. In the beginning, almost every expert is just barely able to ignite his or her fire of soul. At that time, it'll look like a tiny spark. With the advancing of your cultivation, it'll gradually grow strong and powerful. That said, it's extremely difficult to turn the tiny spark into a formidable force. In eternal chaotic world, Almost every expert made an arduous effort to cultivate his or her consciousness, but most of them could not succeed in gaining this formidable strength of soul. However, you, a person who adapt an inverse cultivation method and have just become a Tao master, are able to ignite your fire of soul. That's incredible! Gu King exclaimed while thinking in astonishment. The probability of someone igniting his or her fire of soul is extremely low. How come this Jian Wushuang, a practitioner of inverse cultivation, could manage to do that when he reached just the 4th level of his cultivation? That's really enviable. I'm happy to hear you say so. Well, I'm lucky to ignite this fire of soul, but I really want to know what it can do for me right now, when I'm still far below the levels of King Luozhen. Asked Jian Wushuang. What it can do for you right now? It can help you a lot, way beyond your imagination, said Gu King. For example, in the past, if you wanted to make a thorough search of this battlefield in front of you, you could only rely on your Scarlet Eye secret skill, namely your eyes and your extremely weak psychic ability. However, now you can use your strength of soul to do that. Are you saying that I can use my strength of soul to search an area? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise and then quickly activated his strength of soul contained in his fire of soul. He found it easy to manipulate this strength of soul. It was just like controlling his consciousness. The next moment, he felt his strength of soul gradually spreading out, and in the meantime, he discovered that a detailed map of the battlefield somehow formed in his mind. All the details about his surroundings were depicted on this map, including those that he could never detect with just his eyes and psychic ability. For instance, with the help of his strength of soul, he suddenly found out that there was something special about a piece of red rock which he had come across before. Now he knew for sure that this piece of red rock contained very valuable minerals. Wow, I can see everything this clearly, Jian Wushuang exclaimed in amazement and wonder. Take it easy. There are more surprises ahead. Continue to spread out your strength of soul, said Gu King. Upon hearing Gu King's remarks, Jian Wushuang further diffused his strength of soul, trying to cover a larger area. The next moment, he got shocked. What? This strength of soul can extend to several million kilometers and it still keeps extending? Exclaimed Jian Wushuang. It can extend to 15 million kilometers, said Gu King. Jian Wushuang widened his eyes in astonishment. A Tao master, no, even a holy master, is only able to see things at most 500,000 kilometers away with the help of his or her psychic ability. However, with the help of strength of soul, now I can see things 15 million kilometers away. That's amazing, thought Jian Wushuang. Now, Jian Wushuang, try your consciousness attack again, Gu King said smilingly. A consciousness attack? Jian Wushuang asked surprisedly. He quickly activated his strength of soul again to display his mind-controlling secret skill. The next moment, his black-colored strength of soul rushed out into the air and cohered into a spine. Although it did not hit any target since he had not aimed at anything, he still noticed the remarkable ferocity and momentum in the spine. This consciousness attack fueled by his strength of soul was more than 10 times stronger than his regular consciousness attack. This, Jian Wushuang was stunned. Strength of soul is a multipurpose miracle force, but now all you can do with your strength of soul is searching and attacking, since you've just ignited your fire of soul and your strength is still weak. When your strength of soul grows stronger, you'll find out more about it. Anyway, you really impressed me by igniting your fire of soul as a Tao master. Remember to keep nourishing your soul in the future. When your cultivation levels are as high as those of King Luozhen, your strength of soul is definitely going to amaze the world, said Gu King solemnly. Jian Wushuang put a smile on his face upon hearing that. Although he was not sure what was going to happen in the future, he was really pleased with his recent progress. At least, his consciousness attack was much stronger than before. That meant the ferocity of his sheer shadow strike and even his battle strength would also be increased. I've made huge leaps in my cultivation by creating the strongest sword principle and becoming a Tao master. Considering my current powers, I'll definitely be able to summon a much stronger blaze quicksand realm. And now, I'm even bestowed with this amazing strength of soul. I've never imagined that I can be so powerful, Jian Wushuang thought while clenching his fists in excitement. Unfortunately, although I've reached the levels of a Tao master, I've not yet increased my ancient god power or mastered more advanced blood-killing plate armor secret skills other than the most elementary ones. Worse still, after reaching the 4th stage of my inverse cultivation, I'm no longer in eternal realm. That means I'm going to lose the ability to make my life everlasting. With this in mind, Jian Wushuang could not help but sigh. There were 3 stages of mastering blood-killing plate armor secret skills. By mastering only the Stage 1 skills, Jian Wushuang had drastically increased his offensive power by 10 times. If he had mastered the Stage 2 skills by now, his powers would have been further increased. Compared to that, leaving Eternal Real caused a more realistic problem to Jian Wushuang. He could no longer keep his life everlasting. In the past, he had been capable of incorporating his life core into all the cells in his body. As such, he had always been able to come back to life even if there was only 1 drop of his blood left in this world. However, he could not do that anymore after becoming a Tao master, since his life core was pushed out of his cells now. Fortunately, he became more resilient in physiological responses to recurrent damage. Well, my gains and losses seem to offset each other, but my current level of battle strength is several notches above my original level. With this in mind, he gradually calmed down. Before long he arrived at the Chilly Wind Valley. Jian Wushuang stared in rapture at a seemingly bottomless sinkhole at the bottom of the valley. There must be a treasure lying at the bottom of the hole. Let me try my newly gained strength of soul. Maybe I'll be able to see the inside of the hole, he said as he started to diffuse his strength of soul. With a buzzing sound, his strength dived into the hole. After a moment, when his strength went several thousands kilometers down into the hole, he clearly felt that there was an extremely cold energy hindering the advancement of his strength. He worked up his strength of soul, his face becoming solemn from the exertion, but he only managed to push his strength another 500 kilometers forward. He frowned and said, "What a strange thing. My strength of soul seems to be blocked by something down there. There's indeed a treasure placed at the bottom of the Chilly Wind Valley. It's extremely cold and has abundant yin energy. It's not surprising that it's able to stop your strength of soul from getting into the depths of the hole. After all, your reservoir of strength is still feeble," said Gu King. Chapter 1143, Everything is Ready. Chapter 1143, Everything is Ready. What a pity, sighed Jian Wushuang. Excited by his newly gained strength of soul, he had thought that it would have been easy for him to see the bottom of the Chilly Wind Valley and had never expected his survey to be suddenly blocked by something more powerful than his strength. It seems that I can only wait until my levels of cultivation or my strength of soul get improved before getting here to check the situation in the hole again, Jian Wushuang sighed in his heart while shaking his head. He left this place and continued his journey on this battlefield. As a powerful Tao master now, Jian Wushuang was more confident about himself than before, but he still remained cautious during his journey. Soon, 8 years had passed. During these 8 years, he had never run into any expert from the Gold Kingdom or the Green Fire Palace. As such, none of his old acquaintances knew that he had already become a Tao master. One day, something unexpected happened. My young friend, Jian Wushuang. A man sent a message to him. Golden Axe Holy Master. Jian Wushuang immediately recognized the man's voice and cordially greeted this venerated elder of the Green Fire Palace. I heard that you're exploring the battlefield alone? Asked Golden Axe Holy Master. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded and replied. Is there anything I can do for you, Golden Axe Holy Master? Yes. I'm also exploring the battlefield alone and get into some trouble now. I need 3 holy masters with great exceptional realm to help me out, but I found only one such expert by far. I've just heard that you're also on the battlefield, so I contact you, said Golden Axe Holy Master. Oh, I see, Jian Wushuang said smilingly. As both of them were experts from the Green Fire Palace, it natural for Golden Axe Holy Master to ask him for help on the battlefield. Moreover, What Golden Axe Holy Master needed now was experts with great exceptional realm. As there were just a small number of experts with such high-level battle strength in the Green Fire Palace, it was not an easy job for even Golden Axe Holy Master to find 3 of them on the battlefield. Jian Wushuang did not feel surprised that Golden Axe Holy Master contacted him. "For you, of course, I'll go to help you, but I don't know if I'll be in time for your rescue," said Jian Wushuang. "Where are you now?" Golden Axe Holy Master asked casually. "Here's my current location." Jian Wushuang shared his location with Golden Axe Holy Master without hesitance. After getting Jian Wushuang's location, Golden Axe Holy Master also sent his current location to Jian Wushuang. "I'm here, far away from you. Even if you rush to me at full speed, it'll take you more than 100 years to get here. You can never make it in time," Golden Axe Holy Master said while smiling bitterly. "Wow, are we that far apart?" Jian Wushuang exclaimed and then looked at the Golden Axe Holy Master's location. He shook his head and added, "I'm sorry, Golden Axe Holy Master. I'm more than willing to help you out but unable to do so." "That's all right. I'll contact the other experts with great exceptional realm to see if any of them can make it in time." With these words, Golden Axe Holy Master was off the line. Jian Wushuang shrugged his shoulders and took his mind off this problem. After that, he continued his journey. He did not know that hundreds of millions of kilometers away, Golden Axe Holy Master had already shared his location with the top-notch experts of the Jin Kingdom in a special way. "I've done everything I can, and now, the next move rests with you, Tianhuan King," thought Golden Axe Holy Master. In the meantime, 3 experts of the Jin Kingdom gathered together at their headquarters. One of them was a young man dressed in a black robe. He had a bony face and 2 piercing eyes. He was Tianyin King, who had once engaged Jian Wushuang in battle. As for the other 2, one was a beautiful and icy woman, and the other was a very tall and well-built man. The former was Tianhuan King and the latter was Golden Rock King. Both of them were among the top 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom. "Axe has sent us the current location of Jian Wushuang. He's here." While saying this, Tianyin King took out a map and pointed his finger at a marked place on it. "That region is quite far away from our headquarters. We need at least decades to get there, even if we travel at our full speed. Fortunately, it's near to a secret base under our control. That base is a special place. It has a space wormhole," said Tianhuan King, the beautiful and icy woman. "Such being the case, we'd better waste no time staying here. Let's set off right now," said Golden Rock King. As such, the 3 kings set out, followed by quite a lot of holy masters of the Jin Kingdom. They quickly arrived at their secret base through the wormhole. After that, they spent a year traveling on foot before reaching the region where Jian Wushuang was. According to the message from Axe, Jian Wushuang was in this region a year ago. "He must still be hanging around here," said Tianyin King. "Yes, if nothing else, he must be somewhere nearby. However, as this region is large, it won't be easy for us to find him," said Golden Rock King. "No doubt it'll be troublesome for us to search for him, but we can figure out a way to attract him here into our trap," said Tianhuan King. "Attract him into our trap? How can we do that?" Tianyin King and Golden Rock King asked simultaneously while turning their gaze toward Tianhuan King. "That's easy," Tianhuan King said smilingly while lifting up one of her hands. On her palm stood a fascinating treasure which had already recognized her as its owner. It was a 7-story pagoda which was aquamarine in color. Tianhuan King activated her mental power to disconnect it from herself. "Tianhuan, what are you doing?" Both Tianyin King and Golden Rock King were shocked upon seeing that, as they knew how important this treasure was to Tianhuan King. "I've owned this 7 stars pagoda for years. It has already become a part of me. It'll remain under my control even if I disown it now," Tianhuan King said smilingly. "Tianhuan, are you planning to use it to lure Jian Wushuang here?" asked Tianyin King. "Yes. He comes to this battlefield for treasures, so I deliberately disowned this 7 stars pagoda. I'll let this treasure emerge on the battlefield in an eye-catching way. If Jian Wushuang is still in this region, he'll come here right after he notices the emergence of the treasure," replied Tianhuan King. Great idea, so let's get started, said Golden Rock King. Tianhuan King nodded and then released her 7 stars pagoda, letting it fall toward the ground. Boom! In an instant, the treasure stood and grew on the battlefield, causing a large-scale impact on its surrounding environment. The impact was so great that it affected a radius of hundreds of millions of kilometers, shaking the heavens and the earth. Tianhuan King and her partners hid in this 7 stars pagoda, lying in wait for Jian Wushuang. Now everything is ready, all we need to do is to wait for Jian Wushuang to step into this trap, thought the kings, excitedly. Chapter 1144, 7 Stars Pagoda. Chapter 1144, 7 Stars Pagoda. The emergence of a treasure like 7 Stars Pagoda would naturally cause a huge impact on the surrounding environment, especially when Tianhuan King was deliberately enhancing its impact. As such, Jian Wushuang, who still remained in this region, immediately felt the impact the moment the treasure emerged. Wow, that's impressive. Is it caused by the emergence of a treasure? Jian Wushuang thought excitedly, his eyes brightened. As there were countless treasures that might pop out randomly on this battlefield, he thought that it was not surprising that he could come across some treasures that had just emerged. I have to hurry up, he said to himself and set off. Several days later, he discovered an aquamarine pagoda which had an aura of dominance. Standing in front of the pagoda, he exclaimed, "What a strong aura field! Only a chaos magic treasure can have such an aura. Yes, it must be a chaos magic treasure." Excitement flickered in his eyes. Yes, it's a chaos magic treasure and the kind with special powers. It's much more valuable than those chaos magic treasures which can only be used as weapons during a fight, Gu King observed. Wow, such a precious thing emerged, and I happened to be the first one who discovered it. What a coincidence, said Jian Wushuang, surprisedly. Did all the experts from the Green Fire Palace and the Jin Kingdom happen to wander in the other regions of the battlefield? Am I the only one here in this region right now? Well, probably, said Gu King. Jian Wushuang, go enter the pagoda. Maybe you'll be able to make it recognize you as its owner. Before entering the aquamarine pagoda, Jian Wushuang searched it with his strength of soul to make sure that everything was all right. The moment he stepped into it, Tianhuan King, Tianying King and Golden Rock King, who were hiding inside the pagoda, revealed sinister smiles on their faces. That brat is quite cautious. Fortunately, we chose to hide inside the pagoda. Protected by the pagoda, he'll never discover us, said Tianhuan King. Jian Wushuang has already been lured into our trap. You can go finish him off right now, Tianhuan King. Golden Rock King urged. Dorush, trust me, this brat won't be able to come out of the pagoda alive. Tianhuan King said while smiling confidently. Look, he has already fallen into my trap. Jian Wushuang found himself surrounded by numerous treasures upon entering this pagoda. He felt as if he had entered a large treasure vault. He glanced around and saw countless shelves filled with treasures. This place seemed to have just about every treasure he could wish for. More importantly, these treasures also appeared to be highly valuable. Is this one a chaos magic treasure? Jian Wushuang thought in disbelief. Yes, it is, and it's not the only chaos magic treasure here. This place has 10 chaos magic treasures. And the bracelet over there, its aura field is much stronger than that of a chaos magic treasure. Is it a chaos divine treasure? Jian Wushuang looked at the treasures in this large house one by one. All of them were of high value, which made Jian Wushuang feel somewhat overwhelmed. He continued to look at those treasures and gasped in admiration from now and then. However, he did not look overjoyed, and his eyes were calm and unwavering. Faced with such a treasure vault filled with priceless treasures, an ordinary person would be extremely excited or ecstatically happy. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang still managed to remain calm. A few chaos magic treasures would be enough, and the chaos divine treasure is really too much. Do you really believe that I'm such a fool? You're really naive enough to think that you can deceive me with such an illusion. With this in mind, Jian Wushuang sneered and then widely opened the red eye between his eyebrows, while diffusing his strength of soul. Swoosh! The next moment, the treasure vault shattered and disappeared. Jian Wushuang found himself standing on a glittering ground. Now he was on the bottom floor of 7 Stars Pagoda. When he looked up, he could see all the 6 floors above himself and a luminous aquamarine pearl at the top of the pagoda. That pearl was as large as an adult's head and giving off a strange glow. Jian Wushuang was standing on the bottom floor with his long sword on his back and a faint smile on his face. Upon seeing that, Tianhuan King's pupils constricted. This brat has seen through the illusion I've created in my 7 Stars Pagoda. Well, he's really something, said Tianhuan King. What happened? Tianhuan King, Tianying King and Golden Rock King looked at her and asked. It's just a little accident, Tianhuan King replied plainly. That brat must have mastered some special secret skill, which enables him to see through the illusion I created. With these words, she cast a glance at the red eye located between Jian Wushuang's eyebrows. She believed it to be the reason for Jian Wushuang being able to smash the illusion she had created. The illusion is gone, but it's not a big deal. I'll crush him with a fierce consciousness attack, said Tianhuan King. She launched the second round of attacks on Jian Wushuang while looking coldly at him. The luminous aquamarine pearl began to spin and then shot out a beam of aquamarine light at Jian Wushuang. At the bottom floor of 7 Stars Pagoda, Jian Wushuang quickly noticed that a beam of light was dashing toward him at an amazingly high speed, but he did not dodge, since he knew that it was impossible to escape from the light. He stayed in the same place until the beam of aquamarine light hit him. Boom! It turned out to be a formidable consciousness attack. With great ferocity and destructive powers, this consciousness attack was far more intense than all the previous ones that Jian Wushuang had suffered. It was strong enough to destroy a person's consciousness. Even Jian Wushuang himself could not do that. He was only able to use his consciousness attacks to make his target lose his or her mind temporarily. Someone wants to annihilate my consciousness with this beam of aquamarine light, thought Jian Wushuang. Humph! He snorted, his countenance grew grim, and then he suddenly lifted up his head to stare at the luminous aquamarine pearl. What? Tianhuan King exclaimed in astonishment. I've used 7 Stars Pagoda's powers to launch this consciousness attack. No one below the levels of a universe master is able to resist it. However, this brat fended it off. Tianhuan King thought in disbelief. She had thought that it would have been just a piece of cake for her to kill this Jian Wushuang before. However, now Jian Wushuang was still alive and well even when he was trapped in her 7 Stars Pagoda and had suffered 2 rounds of attacks from her. Humph, I don't believe it. No matter how strong you are, you're now trapped in my 7 Stars Pagoda and completely under my control. Even if I can't kill you with a consciousness attack, I can directly crush you with my powers here. With this in mind, Tianhuan King groaned and swished her hands. Suddenly, the entire 7 Stars Pagoda began to shake. Jian Wushuang saw 2 dreadful forces become solid in the void in front of himself. They looked like 2 giant hands, and these 2 hands obviously intended to trap and crumble him. Chapter 1145, 3 Universe Masters. Chapter 1145, 3 Universe Masters. You want to suppress me? Jian Wushuang sneered and then swished one of his hands to summon a golden gourd. He pulled out its plug to release blaze quicksand. Soon enough, his blaze quicksand turned into a violent storm, ripping the 2 giant hands into pieces. Even 7 Stars Pagoda started shivering under the impact of the storm. How did he do that? Tianhuan King thought in astonishment. What treasure does he hold in his hand? Even my 7 Stars Pagoda can't withstand its attack. Alas, I can't take it anymore. If this storm continues, my pagoda will be destroyed. With this in mind, Tianhuan King became increasingly pale. She quickly waved her hands to open the gates of the pagoda. The blaze quicksand rushed out of the pagoda, so did Jian Wushuang. Shoo! Jian Wushuang revealed himself in the void, surrounded by quite a lot of remaining blaze quicksand. 3 experts popped out in front of him, coming with amazing auras. This aura is... Jian Wushuang looked at them with a frown. One of them must be Tianyin King, but who are the other two? Their auras are as strong as, no, slightly stronger than that of Tianyin King. Wait a minute, the two are universe masters. No, all the 3 of them are universe masters, thought Jian Wushuang. It seems that the Jin Kingdom really takes me seriously. It even sends 3 universe masters to ambush me. Jian Wushuang said smilingly. You brat, did you discover us in the pagoda in the very beginning? Tianhuan King asked while looking coldly at Jian Wushuang. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded and replied without hesitation. Before entering 7 Stars Pagoda, he had believed it to be a newly emerged treasure instead of a trap. He had even been looking forward to getting the pagoda to recognize him as its owner. However, upon entering this place, his strength of soul quickly detected that there were 3 experts hiding inside this pagoda. As such, he realized that he had stepped into a trap set by his enemies from the Jin Kingdom. He was not afraid after knowing that it was a trap, since now he was much stronger than before. Jian Wushuang, your aura gets stronger. If I guess correctly, you've already reached the levels of a Tao Master, haven't you? Tianyin King looked at Jian Wushuang and asked. He had engaged Jian Wushuang in battle before and thus knew this young man better than the other 2 universe masters did. The last time Tianyin King had met with Jian Wushuang, he could tell from the young man's aura that he still remained at the level of Eternal Realm, but now Jian Wushuang's aura was exceptionally strong and it appeared even more powerful than that of an ordinary holy master. Yes, I have. It's just a sheer fluke, Jian Wushuang replied smilingly. You're a Tao Master now. No wonder you could stay calm and collected after realizing that the pagoda was a trap. Tianyin King squinted his eyes and said, But even if you're Tao Master now, faced with us, you're dead. I'm dead? I don't think so. Jian Wushuang sneered. Tianyin King, why bother talking so much with him? Just go ahead and finish him off. If you guys are not ready, I'll go first. With these words, Golden Rock King, who was obviously the most impatient person among the 3 universe masters, came at Jian Wushuang, a giant axe in each of his hands. His arm muscles bulged so much that blue veins stood out on them. He poked through the void and dashed toward Jian Wushuang with amazing speed and ferocity. Even a holy master would shudder with fear in the face of such a combative universe master. However, Jian Wushuang got somewhat bloodthirsty and even smiled upon seeing that. The next moment, Gu King said to him, Jian Wushuang, the levels of these 3 universe masters in front of you aren't very high. With your current powers, you can defeat any one of them in an one-on-one fight, but you can't take on 3 universe masters at once. Fortunately, you have Blaze Quicksand Gourd. Once you summon Blaze Quicksand Realm, they won't be able to resist it. At that time, you can stay or leave as you wish. I know, said Jian Wushuang. However, this fight has just begun. I don't plan to use my Blaze Quicksand Gourd prematurely. He had his own plan. He had just become a Tao Master and experienced a surge in his powers. He had been looking forward to fighting against some well-matched opponents to see how great his new powers were. For him, these 3 kings from the Jin Kingdom came just in time. He would have never wanted to miss such a wonderful opportunity. Well, I'll play with them for some time before leaving this place with the help of my Blaze Quicksand Gourd. But just in case, I need to report this incident to my palace masters. With these words, he sent a message to his palace masters. After that, he summoned his Blood Mountain sword and confronted Golden Rock King. You brat, you're dead. Golden Rock King shouted, as he struck a giant axe at Jian Wushuang with shocking ferocity. The axe had already been expanded to more than 3 meters long and was now enveloped in clouds which were blood red in color. Boom! Loud friction sound could be heard as the axe cracked through the void. It sounded as if even the heavens and the earth could not withstand the impact. Jian Wushuang still looked calm. Since reaching the levels of a Tao Master, his strength had been significantly upgraded. At this moment, the ancient god power inside his body was surging wildly, so was his spiritual power. his powers would vent out at any minute. Heaven's Bane! Jian Wushuang shouted out the name of his move, a strong killing intent flickered in his eyes. The next moment, a dazzling beam of intense sword light was shot out. Heaven's Bane was the most powerful offensive skill amongst all the techniques of his swordplay of coalescence. As its name implied, Heaven's Bane could shake the sky so much so that it would look as if it were about to shatter into pieces at any minute. Before the dreadful sword light hit the ground had begun to shatter. A crack as long as several thousand kilometers could be seen below the sword light now. Is he serious? He's just become a Tao master and he dares to butt heads with Golden Rock King? Is he that eager to die? Tianhuan King and Tianning King were stunned upon seeing Jian Wushuang's reaction. They stayed near to Golden Rock King, but none of them felt it necessary to join the fight to help their partner at this moment. Boom! Jian Wushuang's sword essence suddenly turned into a shower of swords raining down on his enemy and poking numerous black holes in the void. Jian Wushuang shook his body and then darted toward Golden Rock King like a bullet. He slammed into the king, causing him to retreat a dozen steps from his original place. For every step he took, he stamped on a piece of the void, smashing it into pieces. Come at me again. Jian Wushuang's laughter resounded in the void, and before his enemies realizing what had happened, he appeared in front of them again, calm and steady. The moment he took a firm stand in the void, he readied himself to launch the second round of attacks. He rushed toward Golden Rock King again with an amazing aura. His aura was as strong as before, which meant that he did not get hurt at all during his previous clash with the Universe Master. Chapter 1146, A Fierce Battle. Chapter 1146, A Fierce Battle. Buzz! Jian Wushuang brandished his Blood Mountain sword again, sending out a beam of sword light. It cracked through the void and quickly expanded into a shining sword river. He approached Golden Rock King and launched an all-out attack on the latter, his eyes brightened with excitement. Beams after beams of sword light were shot out toward Golden Rock King with amazing speed and ferocity. You want to play hard? So let's play hard, shouted Golden Rock King. He wielded the pair of giant axes in his hands and gave full play to his powers, his eyes filled with anger. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Axe shadows full of great vigor darted toward Jian Wushuang without a break. Soon enough, they clashed with Jian Wushuang's sword light. This fierce battle between Jian Wushuang and Golden Rock King dragged the surrounding space into an apocalypse-like state of chaos. Harsh, disagreeable combination of sounds reverberated across the battlefield. This brat, Golden Rock King watched Jian Wushuang malevolently, but meanwhile, he could not help feeling astonished deep inside his heart. He was astounded at the performance of this young man. He had never expected the youth to have such a great battle strength. As far as he knew, Jian Wushuang had displayed his powers during the battle in the Loyalty Palace not long ago, and at that time, his powers had been barely comparable to those of a holy master with top-notch exceptional realm. He counted the years and found out that only a few decades had passed since the battle in the Loyalty Palace. As such, he felt even puzzled about the current situation. He was a powerful universe master and well known for his battle strength. However, even he could not defeat Jian Wushuang in a short time in a stand-up fight. What surprised him even more was Jian Wushuang's self-protection ability. Why does Jian Wushuang look absolutely uninfluenced after so many head-on collisions? Every time I exerted a forward force on an axe shadow, it exerted an equal and opposite force on me. Such forces sapped my battle strength and even slightly hurt me. How come he seems immune to such forces? Thought Golden Rock King, his gaze fixed upon Jian Wushuang. Since the beginning of this fierce battle, Jian Wushuang's sword light and Golden Rock King's axe shadows had clashed head-on for more than 100 times. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang was still alive and kicking. He even looked more combative and energetic than before. Tianning King and Tianhuan King, who had been standing by and watching the fight all this while, remained silent, but their gaze turned harsh. Now I see why that person ordered the three of us to deal with this Jian Wushuang. He has been making fast progress all this while. Tianhuan King said in a low voice. I used to engage him in battle outside the Loyalty Palace. Back then, I severely wounded him by giving him just one whiplash, and he didn't have any energy left to struggle, not mention to counterattack after getting the blow. If Sunrise Sword Emperor hadn't come to his rescue in time, I would have killed him. However, now, he's much stronger than before. Even I would feel a lack of confidence in facing off against him, said Tianning King, his hands clenched into tight fists. Fortunately, we've come here in time. He has not yet become a holy master. If he does, maybe only our monarch is able to compete with him, said Tianhuan King. Anyway, he's dead today, Tianning King said with a murderous look on his face and then summoned his black long whip. Golden Rock King, I'm coming to help you. With these words, he dashed toward at incredibly high speed, looking like a fleeting phantom. Upon seeing Tianning King coming to join the fight, Golden Rock King frowned but did not say anything. Another one? Jian Wushuang exclaimed, his face solemn. Shoo! Tianning King flung his whip forward. The black whip, which looked like a big python, somehow penetrated the void and then appeared straight in front of Jian Wushuang. That's fast! Jian Wushuang exclaimed in his heart, while brandishing his Blood Mountain sword to fend it off. After he stabbed the tip of his sword into the most vulnerable place of the big python, the python quickly withdrew. He could easily spot my most vulnerable point and fend off my attack. He does have superb sword skills, said Tianning King. He did not know that it was Jian Wushuang who had created the strongest set of swordplay techniques, swordplay of coalescence. He was so versed in the art of the sword and had mastered nearly all kinds of sword skills. That was why Tianning King could never compete with him in this aspect. Now it's my turn. Golden Rock King shouted loudly and then suddenly squatted. Fueled by a sharp killing intent, he lifted his giant axes up above his head. A seemingly boundless axe shadow gradually came into being over his head and covered almost the entire sky. The whole world dimmed dramatically the moment the axe shadow was formed. Now, this axe shadow was the focus of everyone's attention. It quickly fell toward Jian Wushuang as Golden Rock King swung his axe toward the youth. This axe shadow. The color of Jian Wushuang's face slightly changed, as he could clearly detect the dreadful energy contained in this falling axe shadow. He had exchanged many moves with Golden Rock King by far, but the latter had never used such a technique before. In the face of such a formidable axe shadow, Jian Wushuang intuitively wanted to fend off the attack with his sword. However, before he could manage to do that, he was attacked by an invisible force. He felt as if he had been stabbed in the head by a sharp needle coated with a deadly poison. Is this a consciousness attack? And an exceptionally ferocious one? Jian Wushuang thought with a glum face. Nevertheless, he still managed to brandish his Blood Mountain sword the next moment. Boom! The explosion blasted a large pothole in the void. Jian Wushuang flew out from the center of the pothole like a bullet and then bumped into a distant mountain which was tall and rugged. The next moment, the mountain exploded and Jian Wushuang flew out again. He stood in the void, excitedly looking at the three universe masters. Tianhuan King, Golden Rock King and Tianning King stood side by side, looking stunned and somewhat gloomy. That axe shadow is the strongest one that I can summon. How come he survived it without a scratch? And how did he manage to take it after taking your consciousness attack, Tianhuan King? Golden Rock King voiced his doubts first. I also launched the consciousness attack with all my strength just now. Why did it have no influence on him? It even didn't delay his movements. Tianhuan King exclaimed in surprise. Back in Seven Stars Pagoda, Jian Wushuang had managed to fend off her consciousness attack and crack the illusion she had created. Now, her strongest consciousness attack failed to influence Jian Wushuang once again. How long has he lived? Why does he have such a potent consciousness? Tianhuan King exclaimed in astonishment. This brat is not weak, and we must go all out to kill him. If we let him survive, he'll become a nightmare for the Jin Kingdom in the future. Tianning King said in a deep voice. Chapter 1147, Going All Out. Chapter 1147, Going All Out. Let's go all out, Tianhuan King and Golden Rock King said while nodding solemnly. I'll go first, and you two will make sneak attacks against him once you get a chance. With these words, Tianyin King rushed rapidly forward like a fleeting phantom. As he moved forward, he somehow split into 10 Tianyin Kings. Jian Wushuang immediately opened his scarlet eye and used his strength of soul to detect these 10 Tianyin Kings. The next moment, his countenance became grim, as he exclaimed in his heart, "What? They're real bodies instead of illusionary ones." His scarlet eye secret skill enabled him to tell illusionary things from real ones, but he failed to find any defect in the 10 Tianyin Kings. That meant all of them were the Universe Master's real bodies. Each of the 10 Tianyin Kings held a long black whip in hand, which looked like a big python. They surrounded Jian Wushuang and then attacked him simultaneously. Swoosh! 10 black long whips were flung toward him at the same time. They looked like 10 big flying pythons, rushing toward him and planning to wrap themselves around him. Soon enough, they besieged Jian Wushuang. He saw them blot out the sky and cover up the earth in an instant, leaving no gap for him to escape. What an amazing technique! Jian Wushuang exclaimed in his heart. Tianyin King might not be able to compete with Golden Rock King in terms of battle strength, but he was clearly much faster and nimbler than the latter. He was particularly adept at trapping his opponent. Even a Universe Master could hardly escape from his grasp. However, the fact that a Universe Master was unable to get rid of those whips did not necessarily mean that Jian Wushuang could not do that. Go, Blaze Quicksand! Jian Wushuang growled and released his Blaze Quicksand. In a split second, a violent storm of sand and green flames arose and expanded, tearing the black big pythons into pieces. After smashing the big pythons to pieces, the Blaze Quicksand rushed toward the 10 Tianyin Kings. Humph! Jian Wushuang snorted. The next moment, one of the 10 Tianyin Kings gave a grunt and ran toward Golden Rock King and Tianhuan King in panic, as the other 9 kings suddenly dispersed. Fuck, what treasure does he have? Tianyin King blurted out while keeping a straight face and staring at the Blaze Quicksand around Jian Wushuang. It must be a treasure which can summon some kind of realm, Golden Rock King said with a frown. Tianhuan King, I'll use my blood-deadly longbow to distract him and you can use your killing move to finish him off once you get a chance. Got it, Tianhuan King nodded solemnly and said. Golden Rock King snorted with contempt and then summoned a fierce-looking red longbow. It stood as tall as an adult and looked very aggressive. What's that? Jian Wushuang's face slightly changed, as the red longbow's aura seemed quite dangerous. Jian Wushuang, I think that longbow is a blood-deadly longbow. It's a chaos magic treasure, and its fame has spread far and wide in the eternal chaotic world. The most powerful people in that world, who recruited experts for their armies, would only equip their most elite soldiers with such longbows. It's a powerful weapon. Be careful, said Gu King. Upon hearing that, Jian Wushuang stepped up his vigilance, his pupils constricted. In the meantime, Golden Rock King put one foot back on the void and then shifted his weight to this back leg. He channeled nearly all his powers into his arms but was only able to slightly pull back the string of the bow. What? Gu King could not help scoffing at the Universe Master, while thinking, is that all he can do? He only managed to slightly draw the string back. It seems that his powers aren't enough to fully activate this blood-deadly longbow. The next moment, Golden Rock King released the string. Shoo! A flowing red light instantly pierced through the void and flew toward Jian Wushuang. Even though Golden Rock King was unable to bring the longbow's powers into full play, the flowing red light it shot out still looked extremely aggressive and ferocious. More importantly, it was amazingly fast. It seemed to have approached Jian Wushuang in a split second. It was so fast that he did not even have time to consider what kind of sword technique he should use to fend it off. As such, he simply lifted up his Blood Mountain sword to block it. Clang! It sounded as if two metal things had clanged together. Jian Wushuang gave a choked cry after being pushed backward by the strong impact. Did he block it? Golden Rock King's face changed. The next moment, his killing intent skyrocketed. I'll shoot at him again. He pulled his string back once again, albeit slightly. A flowing red light was shot out again. Again! Jian Wushuang mocked inside his heart with a faint curl to his lips. The moment Golden Rock King drew the longbow, he swished his hand to summon a sandstorm for protection. The flowing light easily pierced through the void but weakened by the gusts of wind as it flew toward Jian Wushuang. When it finally approached him, he easily fended it off by brandishing his Blood Mountain sword. What? Golden Rock King exclaimed in surprise. What else can you do? Come on. Show me, Jian Wushuang said smilingly. Whoosh! Someone suddenly appeared beside Jian Wushuang. What? Jian Wushuang shifted his gaze to the person. It was Tianhuan King, the beautiful and icy woman. She calmly stood there, with a mysterious gem in her hand. There was clearly something weird about the aura of the gem. Is it Soul Gem? Gu King suddenly said. Soul Gem? What's that? Jian Wushuang asked. Soul Gem is used to store strength of soul. It's very precious, Gu King said and then exclaimed, this battlefield is amazing. It's like a giant treasure house. In the eternal chaotic world, universe masters, except the top-notch ones, could never own such types of chaos magic treasures. However, these 3 universe masters from the Jin Kingdom have already taken out quite a few chaos magic treasures by far. The 7-story tower, Tianyin King's long whip and that blood-deadly longbow are all precious chaos magic treasure, especially the tower and the bow, and now this soul gem. It's even more priceless. Tut! What a wealthy kingdom. They would make the universe masters and experts at even higher levels in eternal chaotic world envious. It's incredible that these universe masters from the Jin Kingdom have so many treasures. As for your Green Fire Palace, you guys have dominated this battlefield for a much longer time than they did. You must have uncovered even more treasures here. No wonder the 5 palace masters didn't care much about Blaze Quicksand Gourd. Chapter 1148, That Person. Chapter 1148, That Person. After hearing Gu King's words, Jian Wushuang was speechless with amazement. Even the Jin Kingdom could manage to accumulate so many treasures. The Green Fire Palace must have uncovered a surprising amount of treasures here. As for the most precious ones, they must be in the hands of the 5 palace masters, thought Jian Wushuang. Let's drop the subject now, Gu King. Tell me the use of this soul gem, said Jian Wushuang. It stores strength of soul, and her soul gem clearly still contains some strength of soul inside itself. She can use her consciousness to channel the strength out to launch an attack on you. Jian Wushuang, this is an attack fueled by strength of soul. You have to be careful, said Gu King. So this is a soul attack? Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted, but he did not look frightened. Go die, Jian Wushuang, Tianhuan King shouted in a loud, deep voice. In the meantime, the strength of soul flowed out of her soul gem, formed a spine and then rushed toward Jian Wushuang. What an idiot! It's really stupid to use strength of soul in this way, Gu King observed. Jian Wushuang, you don't need to do anything to fend off this soul attack, because it can never hurt you. Oh! Jian Wushuang had intended to use his own strength of soul to fend it off before, but now he gave up that plan and let the spine hit him directly. The next moment, he stood in the void, his eyes slightly closed. Is he dead? Someone asked. Tianhuan King did not reply. Instead, she fixed her gaze upon Jian Wushuang, her face extremely pale. As she herself had not yet acquired any strength of soul, she found it really painful to control such an advanced strength with her consciousness and barely managed to launch the soul attack. After a while, she said, I've used my soul gem to launch an attack on him. This is soul attack. It's far more powerful than a regular consciousness attack. Even a universe master can't withstand it, let alone a Tao master. He must be. She was stunned before she finished her sentence. In the void in front of her, Jian Wushuang reopened his eyes and winked mockingly at her. That's impossible. That's impossible. Tianhuan King screamed in disbelief. She did not know that Jian Wushuang, who adopted the method of inverse cultivation, was much stronger than an ordinary Dao master. More importantly, she had no idea that he had already ignited his fire of soul. Once someone ignited his or her fire of soul, he or she would be endowed with strength of soul. Under the guidance of Tianhuan King, the strength of soul stored in the soul gem could give a devastating blow to an ordinary universe master but could hardly affect Jian Wushuang, since he had already ignited his fire of soul. After enduring the attack, he was still alive and well. However, he did not have much energy left after enduring so many attacks. He decided to escape from the clutches of the three kings. Well, I've seen what you can do, universe masters, so please allow me to excuse myself now, Jian Wushuang said smilingly to the three kings and then turned around, ready to take his departure. You want to escape? No way. Golden Rock King shouted while drawing his blood-deadly longbow. In the meantime, Tianhuan King and Taining King also rushed toward him combatively. They were both impressed and threatened by Jian Wushuang. In their eyes, he possessed even stronger deterrence than Sunrise Sword Emperor did. They believed that Jian Wushuang was going to pose serious problems for the future of the Jin Kingdom and thus were determined to kill him here. After all, they probably would not get such a good chance to do so in the future. Jian Wushuang could not help but scoff at the three ferocious and determined kings while shaking his head. I decided to face off against you guys just because I wanted to try out my new powers during a real battle. But now, I wanted to leave. None of you are able to make me stay, said Jian Wushuang, his blaze quicksand beginning to form a violent storm again. Swoosh, the storm spread far and wide. In just a split second, the blaze quicksand covered a radius of hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Quicksand realm, shouted Jian Wushuang. Buzz, the invisible powers of the realm took effect. Jian Wushuang had used blaze quicksand for protection during the previous fights but never summoned a real quicksand realm. Now, when this realm took effect, the three kings suddenly felt that some form of pressure was applied to them. They felt as if they had been dragged into mud or bound by shackles. They were unable to move as fast as before or give full play to their powers. Suddenly, they saw Jian Wushuang turn himself into a flowing light and flee away. Let's go! Let's chase after him! Golden Rock King roared, but no matter how hard he tried, he still fell further and further behind Jian Wushuang. Damn it! My speed is suppressed by this realm. I can't move any faster, Tianhuan King cursed in a deep voice. So is mine, but I can still manage to catch up with him, said Tianning King. Suppressed by Quicksand Realm, both Tianhuan King and Golden Rock King were left far behind by Jian Wushuang. Only Tianning King could keep up with the young man, as speed was always his forte. However, Tianning King could never stop Jian Wushuang on his own. What can we do? What can we do now? Tianhuan King grumbled. There's nothing that we can do. Jian Wushuang's powers are way beyond our imagination. The three of us can never kill him. Now we can only leave him to that person, said Golden Rock King. That person? Tianhuan King and Tianning King were somewhat stunned. These three kings were not the only ones sent out by the Jin Kingdom to kill Jian Wushuang. There was another one deployed on this mission. That person was a secret weapon of the Jin Kingdom. They had planned to keep the existence of this person confidential unless it was absolutely necessary. However, they had no other choice now. I've sent a message to that person. As for whether he'll come to help us, it depends on himself, said Golden Rock King. In the center of the sandstorm, Jian Wushuang was rapidly rushing forward. Seeing the three kings behind himself, he could not help but scoffing at them. How are you? Jian Wushuang. Sunrise Sword Emperor sent him a message. At this moment, 3 of the 5 palace masters of the Green Fire Palace had gathered together in a hall of the palace. The other 2, who were currently on the battlefield, also transmitted their spectral images to the hall and attended the meeting through their powers of consciousness. All of them were nervous upon hearing that Jian Wushuang was ambushed by 3 kings of the Jin Kingdom. Beyond their expectations, Jian Wushuang replied, "Hello, Palace Masters. I've just engaged the 3 kings in battle. They've used every trick they know but still failed to kill me. They're still chasing after me right now, but I can shake them off with my blaze quicksand gourd." Chapter 1149, A Red-Haired Youth. Chapter 1149, A Red-Haired Youth. The 5 palace masters were shocked when hearing Jian Wushuang describe the fight between the 3 kings and himself in a relaxed tone. "Are you saying that you've just engaged the 3 kings in battle?" Void Temple Master asked Jian Wushuang in disbelief. "Yes," Jian Wushuang nodded and replied. "And the 3 kings failed to kill you even when they worked together?" asked Void Temple Master. "Yes," Jian Wushuang nodded and replied again. "How is this possible?" All the 5 palace masters were astonished. All the 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom were powerful universe masters with formidable battle strength. Generally speaking, it was just a piece of cake for any one of them to kill a holy master with exceptional realm. When 3 kings worked together, only the most experienced palace masters of the Green Fire Palace, such as Samsara Temple Master and Void Temple Master, could manage to resist them. However, these 3 kings failed to kill Jian Wushuang. The 5 palace masters felt bewildered. "I've reached the levels of a Dao master," Jian Wushuang explained. "Even a Dao master can't be this powerful," Void Temple Master said with a frown. A moment later he added, "Jian Wushuang, can you tell me how they look and what they're good at? I want to know who they are." "One of them is Tianning King. I've fought against him before. As for the other 2, one is a woman versed in the use of consciousness attack, and the other is a man who uses large axes," Jian Wushuang said and then described the 2 kings' looks to the palace masters. After hearing his description, the 5 palace masters quickly agreed on who the 2 kings were. The woman is Tianhuan King and the man is Golden Rock King. They and Tianning King work together to ambush you. Void Temple Master continued with a solemn face. "Among the 3 kings, Golden Rock King is the most powerful one, Tianhuan King is the most crafty one and Tianning King is the weakest in terms of physical strength. However, this Tianning King is a tough fighter and he moves exceptionally fast. When working together, they can easily finish off an ordinary universe master." Upon hearing Void Temple Master's analysis, all the other 4 palace masters nodded in agreement. At the same time, they were impressed by Jian Wushuang's performance. Golden Rock King was good at attacking, Tianning King was adept at trapping his enemy and Tianhuan King was expert in consciousness attacks. They did have the abilities to kill a universe master. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang had forced them to go all out and managed to survive and escape their clutches. "It looks like that we've underestimated Jian Wushuang. Now that he's able to take on 3 kings from the Jin Kingdom at the same time, he must have powers similar to those of a universe master. He's just become a Dao master but is able to compete with us now. When he reaches the levels of a holy master," said Void Temple Master, excitement flickered in his eyes. "Jian Wushuang, the Jin Kingdom must have noticed your potentials, that's why it wants you dead now. It just has underestimated your powers this time. It'll send some other experts to attack you again. Given this, you must return to Green Fire Palace after shaking off the 3 kings," Samsara Temple Master said solemnly. "Yes, Palace Master," Jian Wushuang nodded and replied. He was clear how much the Jin Kingdom wanted to kill him. After all, it had sent such a formidable team consisted of 3 kings to ambush him. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. "What?" Jian Wushuang looked forward, his face changed. He maintained his quicksand realm all this while and kept searching his surroundings with his strength of soul while moving forward. At this moment, he sensed that a person was standing in front of him. It was a red-haired youth. He stood there with a spear in hand, looking calm and cool. His aura seemed ordinary, but Jian Wushuang somehow felt overwhelmingly intimidated by him. Is he also a universe master from the Jin Kingdom? Jian Wushuang wondered nervously. Being ambushed by 3 kings from the Jin Kingdom felt unreal enough, and now another universe master from the Jin Kingdom popped out. He seems to have hidden in the shadows all this while. Compared to the other 3 universe masters, he looks even more powerful. Jian Wushuang, I can tell that this universe master before you is not an ordinary one. He's much more powerful than the 3 kings behind you. You have to be very careful, said Gu King. Upon hearing that, Jian Wushuang looked grave. At this moment, the red-haired youth in front of him was staring stonily at him while standing quietly in the void with a spear in his hand. This is really ridiculous. 3 universe masters failed to kill a Dao master. What a bunch of bums. Now, let me clean up this mess, said the youth grumpily. He was also on the mission to kill Jian Wushuang. However, he just came to help the 3 kings in case some palace master of the Green Fire Palace suddenly came to Jian Wushuang's rescue. According to his original plan, if there was not such a palace master, he would never join the fight or even reveal himself. Beyond his expectations, it was not some top-notch expert from the Green Fire Palace but the powers of Jian Wushuang that forced him to come out. He had to join the fight to complete his mission when the 3 kings tried their best but still failed to kill Jian Wushuang. I'm going to expose myself by engaging Jian Wushuang in battle. By doing so, I won't be able to remain as a hidden trump card until the decisive battle against the Green Fire Palace begins. This can be bad for the Jin Kingdom, but I have to kill this incredibly talented youth now. Otherwise, he'll pose a serious threat to us in the future. I cannot give this brat any chance to survive and grow stronger. I must kill him now even if this will expose myself, thought the red-haired youth. He tightly gripped the long red spear in his hand and then turned himself into a flowing red light, dashing toward Jian Wushuang. Watch out, Jian Wushuang. Gu King groaned. Jian Wushuang was fully alerted and fixed his gaze upon the flowing red light. When the light reached the edge of his blaze quicksand storm, he shouted, "Quicksand realm, drive him away." Jian Wushuang rendered full support to his quicksand realm and urged it to press down on the red-haired youth. Blaze quicksand roared and pressed on the red-haired youth. Violent storms quickly formed in front of him, blocking his way. However, the quicksand realm only managed to block him for a second. The next moment he thrust his long spear forward, while shouting, "Cleave through the storm." Suddenly, it began to snow in the void which surrounded them, and the snowflakes looked as red as blood. The icy spearhead dashed forward with remarkable speed and ferocity. Swoosh, it cut through the sandstorms. The next moment he thrust his spear further into the storms to attack Jian Wushuang. Upon seeing the spear rapidly approaching, Jian Wushuang could only use his swordplay of coalescence to counterattack. He gave full play to the power of first move of the Heaven's Bane. Chapter 1150 Red Snow King. Chapter 1150 Red Snow King. Bang! 2 formidable forces clashed, and the force of the red-haired youth quickly gained the upper hand. Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword was forced slightly aside, and the long red spear continued to rush toward the chest of Jian Wushuang. Clang! It sounded like a clunk of metal smashing into metal when the spear hit Jian Wushuang's scarlet robe, which was actually his blood-killing plate armor. The robe absorbed 90% of the spear's energy, but the remaining energy still spread into his body, causing considerable damage to him. He felt as if his insides had been set on fire and spouted out a mouthful of blood. How come he's so powerful? He cast a vigilant look at the red-haired youth. Before the spear hit him, its powers had been eroded by the quicksand realm and the sandstorms and then been counteracted by his first move of the Heaven's Bane. However, it still severely wounded him. Its power grew less and less as it approached him, but the level of its remaining powers still went beyond that of an all-out attack from an ordinary universe master. He must be a top-notch universe master. Run, Jian Wushuang. Gu King urged. Jian Wushuang was well aware that he was unable to compete with this red-haired youth. Therefore, the moment he managed to stand on his feet, he immediately activated his strength of soul and used his dragon blood secret skill to flee. Upon seeing that Jian Wushuang was still alive after withstanding the blow, the red-haired youth was quite surprised. When the young man started to flee, he snorted coldly and chased after him. While escaping, Jian Wushuang managed to contact the 5 palace masters. Palace masters, I've just encountered another universe master from the Jin Kingdom. He's way more powerful than the 3 kings. I'm confident that I can shake off the kings, but I'm not sure if I can escape from him, said Jian Wushuang, hastily. Another universe master? Are you saying that you're ambushed by 4 kings? All the palace masters of the Green Fire Palace were startled. Jian Wushuang, you're able to easily escape from Tianhuan King, Golden Rock King and Tianing King. Who else among the 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom is able to stop you? Void Temple Master asked with a frown. Yeah, who else? The 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom are of almost equal strength. None of them is exceptionally powerful. Tang Emperor echoed. Tell us more about this universe master. How does he look? What can he do? Asked Sunrise Sword Emperor. He's a red-haired youth, and his weapon is a long red spear. He's much more powerful than Golden Rock King, at least a dozen times stronger. He has severely wounded me with just 1 stab. Oh, when he wields his spear, there are red snowflakes falling down. A red-haired universe master, who's a dozen times stronger than Golden Rock King. He uses a long spear, and when he wields it, there are red snowflakes? The 5 palace masters mused in silence. The next moment, Samsara Temple Master and Void Temple Master looked frantic simultaneously, and their pupils suddenly constricted. It's Red Snow King. It's him! Void Temple Master exclaimed in astonishment. What? Red Snow King? Tang Emperor, Sunrise Sword Emperor and Red Lotus turned pale with fright and asked in disbelief. How is it possible? Red Snow King was killed during the battle between the Jin Kingdom and us 5 million years ago. How come he's still alive? Void Temple Master spoke with a trembling voice. I can't believe that he's still alive. Samsara Temple Master exclaimed in a hard, cold voice. 5 million years ago, when experts of the Jin Kingdom had first come to this battlefield, they had more than 9 kings. Instead, there were 14 kings among them. This Red Snow King was the strongest one among the kings. Despite the fact that he was also a universe master, he was way more powerful than the other 13 kings. He was definitely a top-notch universe master. 5 million years ago, the Green Fire Palace had fought a last-ditch battle against experts from the Jin Kingdom and sacrificed a lot to kill Red Snow King on the battleground. However, no one else than Red Snow King could severely wound Jian Wushuang with just 1 stab, so this universe master with a long spear in hand must have been Red Snow King. Red Snow King is far stronger than an ordinary universe master. Among all experts in the Green Fire Palace, only Samsara Temple Master is able to resist him with the help of some treasures. The other palace masters can only escape when encountering him. Red Snow King is well known for his amazing speed and formidable offensive power. He's also on this mission to kill Jian Wushuang. This boy is really in danger, said Tang Emperor. Samsara, you're out on the battlefield right now. How long will it take for you to reach Jian Wushuang if you travel as fast as you can? Asked Void Temple Master. Yes, I'm on the battlefield but quite distant from his location. I guess I need at least several days to reach him, sighed Samsara Temple Master. Several days? The other 4 palace masters exclaimed simultaneously. The situation looked grim for them. Red Snow King was after Jian Wushuang at this moment. It would be lucky for the boy to resist him for a few hours, not to mention several days. Upon hearing the reply of Samsara Temple Master, Jian Wushuang, who was busy running away from Red Snow King, knew that he could only rely on himself now. Several days, he murmured to himself with a frown and then turned his head to look back. The next moment, his pupils constricted. Not far behind him, Red Snow King spread a pair of golden wings, which enabled him to move even faster than before. Suppressed by Jian Wushuang's quicksand realm, he still moved a little bit faster than the boy. Upon seeing that, Jian Wushuang made up his mind. Palace Masters, you don't need to worry about me anymore. I'll try my best to make the Jin Kingdom suffer. With these words, he halted the communication. The 5 palace masters of the Green Fire Palace were rendered speechless after hearing his words. They knew clearly what Jian Wushuang was going to do. As he could not escape from the grip of Red Snow King, he intended to face off against this mighty universe master and try his best to cause losses to the Jin Kingdom even at the cost of his own life. Alas, Tang Emperor sighed, feeling helpless. In the meantime, Jian Wushuang looked unprecedentedly determined on the battlefield. Chapter 1151, Determination. Chapter 1151, Determination. I've never expected that I would get ambushed by experts from the Jin Kingdom right after I became a Dao Master. It looks like this original body of mine is doomed, Jian Wushuang said gravely but still had a smile on his face. Gu King, get prepared. I'll create a chance for you to escape with all my treasures. Have you already made up your mind, Jian Wushuang? Asked Gu King, solemnly. Yeah, Jian Wushuang nodded and said, this original body of mine is definitely going to perish. This Red Snow King is exceptionally strong and fast. I can't shake him off with the help of my Quicksand Realm and even my Dragon Blood secret skill, and it's impossible for experts of the Green Fire Palace to come to my rescue in time. I have 2 original bodies. When this one is gone, I'll come back to life through the other one. It's not a big deal. However, I really need you to keep all my treasures for me. I see, said Gu King said. You can hand over blood-killing plate armor and blood mountain sword to me. What about Blaze Quicksand Gourd? Jian Wushuang carried 3 treasures with this original body, which included blood-killing plate armor, blood mountain sword and Blaze Quicksand Gourd. As for the more precious treasures, such as Mountain River Map, they had been left with the other original body of Jian Wushuang. I need this Blaze Quicksand Gourd during the fight, so I can't give it to you. Maybe I'll lose it in the end, but I can accept this result. Jian Wushuang paused for a moment and continued, beside the 2 treasures you've mentioned, I'll give you 2 drops of ancient god power, some elixir which can restore your spiritual power and some other treasures except Blaze Quicksand Gourd. You have to take all of them away. If you can't, destroy them. I can't let my enemies have them. Of course, the most important thing is that you have to keep yourself safe. Jian Wushuang emphasized. Gu King had been parasitic in him for so many years. He had begun to treat him like family a long time ago. He was willing to give up all his treasures, even his blood-killing plate armor and blood mountain sword, to ensure that Gu King could survive. Don't worry, I'm a seasoned warrior. I accompanied King Luozhen everywhere when he was exploring the eternal chaotic world. Although I'm not so powerful as before, which is because I've recognized you as my owner, a universe master can never kill me, Gu King said confidently. That's good. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. He continued to escape, and when he spotted a high mountain in front of him, excitement flickered within his eyes. Here, it's near the Chilly Wind Valley. With these words, he clenched his fists to stop himself and suddenly turned around. Buzz. He absorbed a drop of ancient god power. The next moment his aura got much stronger. Go die! He shouted loudly and rushed toward Red Snow King. You just can't wait to die. Red Snow King sneered and thrust his long spear toward Jian Wushuang. As the spear was pushed forward violently, red snowflakes drifted down, making the fighting scenes beautiful and eye-catching. Jian Wushuang propelled his sword forward, making a slight whistling sound. In an instant, his soul attack reached Red Snow King with strong destructive powers and killing intent from the killing bead. What? This consciousness attack seems to be as fierce as the one launched by Tianhuan King. Red Snow King thought, grim-faced. However, Jian Wushuang's soul attack failed to exert much influence on Red Snow King. The latter's long spear was as powerful as before and quickly clashed against Blood Mountain Sword. Clang! After the loud clunk, Red Snow King twisted his wrist to rotate his spear, creating a vortex in the void, and then hurled it at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang did not have enough time to dodge. All he could do at that time was lifting up his Blood Mountain Sword to block the spear. Bang! The next moment, he was knocked away. He flew backward until he bumped into the high mountain behind him. He smashed into the mountain and was buried by the gravel. "Here you are. Keep them for me, Gu King," Jian Wushuang said as he tossed out an interspatial ring, which contained blood-killing plate armor, blood mountain sword, and many other treasures he had collected before. In the meantime, a flowing red light shone across the place where Jian Wushuang landed. It was Plenilune's centipede, Gu King. It had not appeared too bulky this time. It caught the interspatial ring with his mouth, swallowed it down and tunneled into the mountain and then the ground, hurriedly fleeing away from this place. Boom! Jian Wushuang flew out of the mountain and then toward the chilly wind valley. What? Red Snow King was a little surprised. He had been fixed his gaze upon Jian Wushuang all this while and naturally noticed Gu King. Worm beast? Red Snow King wondered. No matter what it is, I'll kill it. Red Snow King had a strong killing intent. He used his consciousness to lock on Gu King and then swished his hand to launch a fierce attack on it. After that, he continued to chase after Jian Wushuang. Boom! Red Snow King's offensive power penetrated the ground and reached Gu King, but it only affected its speed instead of killing it. In the end, it still managed to sneak into the deepest part of the earth and disappeared. Swoosh! Swoosh! Red Snow King was closely after Jian Wushuang, and behind them were Tianhuan King, Golden Rock King, and Tianing King. However, these three kings were quite far away from them now. Without Gu King's help, Jian Wushuang was unable to restore his powers as easily as before. To make matters worse, the dragon blood secret skill he used to escape kept draining away his spiritual power. As such, he could not sustain himself like this for a very long time. Given this, he decided to go to the place he always wanted to visit. Soon enough, Jian Wushuang and Red Snow King saw a vast sinkhole. The chilly wind valley. Jian Wushuang rushed toward the center of the sinkhole. Excitement flickered in his eyes. When he arrived at the center of the sinkhole, he stopped. Buzz! The blaze quicksand around him dispersed. He stood there, pale and gasping feebly, but he did not look frightened. Swoosh! The red-haired Red Snow King arrived and stopped in front of Jian Wushuang. As for Tianhuan King, Golden Rock King, and Tianing King, they were still far away from this sinkhole. Jian Wushuang, why don't you continue to escape? Red Snow King said while looking coldly at Jian Wushuang. I'm running out of spiritual power, and I'm chased by Red Snow King, the strongest king of the Jin Kingdom. I can't escape from you even though I wish I could do that, replied Jian Wushuang, smilingly. Chapter 1152, Inside the Chilly Wind Valley, Part 1. Chapter 1152, Inside the Chilly Wind Valley, Part 1. Red Snow King did not feel very surprised when he heard Jian Wushuang call him by his real name. He knew that he would be exposed once he showed his powers. Jian Wushuang, I really admire your ability. You're only a Dao master, but you managed to escape from the three kings of the Jin Kingdom, and even I must spend much energy to catch you. It's amazing, Red Snow King said smilingly. You are a genius, a real genius. Although we all live in the eternal chaotic world, there are few geniuses like you. Unfortunately, if an extraordinary genius dies, he'll be a loser. Today, you must die. You're right. I admit that I'm doomed to die today, but I'll never die at the hands of an expert from the Jin Kingdom. I won't give your country an extra advantage. Jian Wushuang said coldly. What? Red Snow King said with surprise. Have you seen the huge sinkhole at your feet? Jian Wushuang asked suddenly. Red Snow King glanced at the deep and mysterious sinkhole, but he didn't see anything. I discovered the sinkhole long ago, and I named it Chilly Wind Valley. Jian Wushuang laughed. It is huge and deep beyond my imagination, but I don't know whether there is a big opportunity or a natural impasse in it. I've always been curious about what lies at the bottom of the hole, but I never had the courage to find out before. Now that I'm doomed to die, I've decided to go down there to see whether it's an opportunity or an impasse at the bottom of Chilly Wind Valley. Do you want to make a bet with me? Jian Wushuang asked. He looked very relaxed. Red Snow King became a little anxious. If you are not afraid to die, you should follow me. Otherwise, you have to let me go. Jian Wushuang grinned broadly at Red Snow King. Boom! A strong aura suddenly burst out from the body of Jian Wushuang again. The small amount of spiritual power that was left in his body began to revive. He flew directly to the bottom of the mysterious sinkhole like a falling stone. As he left, he swallowed several of the remaining elixir pills that could make him regain spiritual power and a drop of ancient god power. Obviously, he was at the point of no return. Upon seeing that, Red Snow King frowned and began to think about it. He looked at the bottomless and mysterious sinkhole, and then he felt a natural fear. There must be something that could threaten him at the bottom of the sinkhole. However, Jian Wushuang was already frantically falling to the bottom of the sinkhole. If he didn't follow, he wouldn't know whether Jian Wushuang was dead or alive. Do I go or not? After a moment's thought, he decided to enter the sinkhole. He's just a Dao master, but he dares to go into that sinkhole. I have no reason to fear him. Besides, it was difficult for me to put him in this situation. If I don't continue to hunt him down, he'll probably survive due to some opportunity. If that happens, it'll be a nightmare for the Jin Kingdom. Red Snow King thought to himself. I can't disregard my previous efforts, so I must kill him now. His eyes gradually became scarlet, and then he spread his red and gold wings behind him. In an instant, he turned into a red and gold flowing light rushing to the bottom of the sinkhole. Seeing Jian Wushuang and Red Snow King fly into the sinkhole, Heaven Illusion King, Golden Rock King, and Heaven Shadow King who were standing in the void above the sinkhole all frowned. What should we do? Should we follow them? Heaven Shadow King asked. There aren't any records about the Chilly Wind Valley in the Jin Kingdom, so we don't know what lies at the bottom of the sinkhole. However, as they've already entered the sinkhole, we shouldn't just stay here and wait, said Golden Rock King. Considering Red Snow King's battle strength, it should be a piece of cake for him to kill Jian Wushuang, but I'm afraid there might be something at the bottom of the hole that will help Jian Wushuang escape. Furthermore, if Red Snow King dies there, it'll be a huge loss to the Jin Kingdom. Therefore, we'd better follow him and help, said Heaven Illusion King. We should leave now. There are indeed a lot of natural dangerous lands on the battlefield, but few can threaten us. I think we won't meet them, but we should be careful. If we notice that something is wrong, we will quickly escape, Heaven Shadow King said. Okay. Golden Rock King and Heaven Illusion King nodded in agreement. They immediately moved and flew to the bottom of the Chilly Wind Valley. In Chilly Wind Valley. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang was using the Dragon Blood secret skill, and he unleashed his strength of soul to its maximum. When he saw the 4 kings of the Jin Kingdom follow him and enter the valley one after another, he laughed coldly. He had said that he knew nothing about the Chilly Wind Valley, which was a lie. In fact, it was quite clear to him that there was something dreadful inside the Chilly Wind Valley. Since he chose to burst into the valley, he was ready to give up this original body. However, he would try his best to make the Jin Kingdom pay the price before that. The greater the cost, the better. That's great. 4 kings of the Jin Kingdom. Red Snow King is the strongest among them. 5 million years ago, the people of the Green Fire Palace spent much time and energy to defeat him. They thought they had killed him at that time, but he was still alive. And the Chilly Wind Valley. Before long, the blood-cold wind inside this hole will start to blow. Let me see whether it is powerful enough to finish him off. Jian Wushuang thought to himself. He had once witnessed the power of the blood-cold wind personally and believed that it was a terrible weapon. He wasn't sure, however, whether he could kill Red Snow King with this weapon. As for the 3 other kings from the Jin Kingdom, Jian Wushuang laughed coldly. Their strengths and skills are far weaker than those of Red Snow King. If they're attacked by the terrible blood-cold wind, they'll die. I have to make sure that they don't have a chance to escape from this blood-cold wind. Suddenly, boom! A roar came from the bottom of the huge hole. Meanwhile, the whole world began to tremble fiercely, becoming stronger and stronger. Chapter 1153 Chilly Wind Valley, Part 2. Chapter 1153 Chilly Wind Valley, Part 2. What? Jian Wushuang's expression shifted ever so slightly. The huge change in the Chilly Wind Valley was well within his expectations, but he did not think that it would come this early. There would be a burst of blood-cold wind every hour, each burst lasting only 10 breaths. His plan was to lure Red Snow King and the other 3 to the bottom of the valley so that the blood-cold wind would kill them. However, aside from Red Snow King, who was the first to enter the valley, it was likely that Heaven Illusion King, Golden Rock King, and Heaven Shadow King would escape as soon as they detected the change in the valley. They might just run out of the attack range of the blood-cold wind. Looks like luck isn't on my side. Jian Wushuang shook his head and sighed. He had no choice but to take action now that the blood-cold wind was about to erupt again. The 4 kings of the Jin Kingdom who was flying overhead stopped in their tracks when they noticed the huge change in the valley. This is... Red Snow King fixed his eyes on the space beneath his feet but saw nothing except pitch-black darkness. He could not help feeling frightened as he felt the world tremble around him and hear the series of explosions coming from the bottom of the valley. It was an instinctual kind of fear. He had never felt this alarmed in his entire life. Run now. Red Snow King bellowed. He immediately turned around to rush out of the valley. Heaven Illusion King, Golden Rock King, and Heaven Shadow King became anxious and followed suit without hesitation. You're only trying to run now? Will you succeed? Stay here, all of you. Die with me. Manic laughter reverberated throughout the valley. Jian Wushuang, who stood nearest to the bottom of the valley, held a golden gourd tightly in his hand. Under his guidance, the mighty blaze quicksand gushed out of the gourd and charged toward the 4 kings like a raging tsunami. The sand had already gushed out of the gourd when the 4 kings tried to run. Carrying with it a green flame, the quicksand swiftly covered all the 4 kings hovering above Jian Wushuang. With the quicksand realm fully activated, their speed was restricted as they tried to escape. Moreover, the rapidly expanding sandstorm was also rushing toward them. Humph! Scram at once! Red Snow King shouted in anger. Blood-like flames bathed his body, burning the sand that neared him to ashes. He still moved swiftly as he was only partially affected by the quicksand realm. Heaven Shadow King had been the fastest among the other 3 kings and was also the first to escape. Thus, the impact he suffered was also the greatest. Under Jian Wushuang's guidance, a large amount of blaze quicksand converged to form a massive hand. The sand firmly caught hold of Heaven Shadow King. No matter how much Heaven Shadow King struggled, each time he escaped from the shackles of the sand, a new layer of sand would cover him. Help me! Hurry up and help me! He cried mournfully, his voice thundering. However, he soon realized that the other 3 were preoccupied with running for their lives. They could not even protect themselves, much less worry about rescuing him. Boom! Over in the bottom of the valley, the blood-cold wind that had been quietly accumulating finally erupted. The terrifying wind ripped through everything as it soared from the bottom of the valley like a volcanic eruption. It moved so swiftly that it swept Jian Wushuang, Red Snow King, and Heaven Shadow King, who were still in the sinkhole. On the other hand, Heaven Illusion King and Golden Rock King were lucky enough to run out of the range of the blood-cold wind. If Jian Wushuang was equipped with the blood-killing plate armor, he would likely be able to momentarily endure the wind even without his defensive capability. However, the wind was crushing his unarmored body. Just as he was about to lose consciousness, he saw what happened to Red Snow King and Heaven Shadow King. Red Snow King had taken out a token and was desperately struggling against the blood-cold wind. Meanwhile, Heaven Shadow King suffered the same fate as Jian Wushuang and was instantly crushed. Somewhere nearby the Chilly Wind Valley. Heaven Illusion King and Golden Rock King, who were lucky enough to run out of the valley, watched in horror. The endless gale, carrying a fearsome power, had destroyed everything in its path. The 2 universe masters felt fear from the bottom of their hearts. They knew they would have died if they had entered deep into the Chilly Wind Valley earlier. What a terrifying gale! Heaven Illusion King exclaimed. The wind swept both Red Snow King and Heaven Shadow King, so they should, Golden Rock King muttered. Whoosh! Out of the blue, a golden flowing light burst out of the gale and appeared in front of them. It was Red Snow King. He was pale and bloodied all over. Half of his red and golden wings were broken. Our Red Snow King, Heaven Illusion King and Golden Rock King stared at him. They could see what a miserable state that Red Snow King was in. Red Snow King clenched his teeth and said in a low voice, I used a life-saving secret skill and suffered a great loss. I need to go into seclusion at once. Jian Wushuang, Heaven Illusion King did not finish his sentence. Both he and Heaven Shadow King are dead. Their treasures must have fallen to the bottom of the valley. If you too have guts, feel free to go and pick them up, Red Snow King said coldly. Heaven Illusion King and Golden Rock King began to tremble as they glanced at the chilly wind valley in horror. They dared not enter the valley again after experiencing the terrifying gale earlier. Let's go. Let's go back right now. The three of them immediately left. Right then, the second original body of Jian Wushuang, who had been meditating his sword principle inside a secret chamber in Green Fire Palace, opened his eyes. He clenched his hands tightly. Though I've lost my first original body and Blaze Quicksand Gourd, I managed to kill a universe master from the Gene Kingdom. Moreover, even if Red Snow King is still alive, he still sustained grave injuries. It's worth it that you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.